Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.
Step back, call game like game. Now they all know our name. Crossover, then go straight to the hezzy. I'm a dunker like Danny. Small market, yeah, we making it big. Now we got too many Camaras. Clinging on guards like Drew. You can't even move, ain't nobody stopping us. Rip City turn, we making some noise. Pass to the present, we getting like roar. Motor be rockin', we bringing the force. Yang with a dime, that's a bucket, of course. If trading by the dunk, you gotta move. Young and still hustling like Scoop. Come and tab in, see what's new. Blazers Uprise on the crew.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show presented by Sleeper. Today, your Portland Trail Blazers get an awesome home victory, beating the Golden State Warriors for the third time this season with a final score of 136-131. The Blazers survive a Steph Curry onslaught, as Curry has 12 threes, which is the most threes ever hit against a Blazers team in any game ever. It was a record-setting night for Steph Curry against this Blazers team. The type of record that is the Blazers you don't want to have. You don't want to give up 12 threes to the greatest shooter of all time. But the Blazers themselves shoot a terrific three-ball tonight, going 20 for 39, 51% from three for what was the worst three-point shooting team in the league. They might be out of last place now, shooting behind the arc. And they get a terrific home victory. Moda Center was rocking. Moda Center was packed. It was Damian Lillard Glass Night. I attended. Eric attended. So that's why the postgame show is going live a little bit late. I hope that Eric will be here soon because I'm super excited to break down this game. And then shout out to Anthony for hooking me up with the glass because I was too late to get one of these things. It filled up early, and I did not arrive in time, and then I ran into Anthony, a.k.a. I think he goes by at Dr. Crime in chat. Just randomly ran into him. He was sitting like 3 rows behind me. So that was cool. Cool to meet him. I gotta give him a shout out for hooking me up with the Damian Lillard glass. And that was one of the more fun Blazer games to attend tonight. Super excited to break it down. Thank you for making us a part of your Sunday night. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend. Man, that game was awesome. That game was just a terrific basketball game. Terrific shot making on both ends. You got Shaedon Sharpe having, in my opinion, the best game of his career because not only did he drop 35 points, he scored efficiently. He hit 3 balls. He hit middies, had some good finishes. Didn't even really force his shot. Just was absolutely cooking, especially in that third quarter where he had 16 points to keep the Blazers in this game and to help the Blazers survive the onslaught that was Stephen Curry. Shaedon Sharpe was not the only guy who scored 35 points tonight. Jeremy Grant as well chips in. He had been struggling a little bit lately. I talked about it a little bit lately. Well, if he was in a slump, he absolutely broke out of it. He had clutch threes in this game, and he finished with 35 points as well. Two Blazers score at least 35 points. That's the first time in a couple of years since Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simons did it a couple of years ago. You have Denny Avdija, who was 6 for 16 from the field, but 12 for 13 from the free throw line, had a super clutch and one, drawing a foul from Draymond Green. And it was a three-headed monster tonight. Shaedon Sharpe, Jeremy Grant, Denny Avdija. You saw the return of Donovan Clingan. He had 3 blocks. He had some big defensive plays. Wasn't really much of a factor offensively. You had Robert Williams get his first triple-double as a Blazer ever. Of course, he hasn't played that many games as a Blazer, even though this is year 3 as a Blazer. Even when he does play, he doesn't play much because we know how the injuries go with Robert Williams, but he stepped up and he was huge for the Blazers tonight. Had a really cool lob on a dime from Jeremy Grant in this game when Jeremy Grant was posting up Steph. The Blazers attacked Steph throughout this game and made the right plays down the stretch. You had a big block from Shaedon Sharpe, and that's why I say this is the best Shaedon Sharpe game. He did it all tonight. Not only was it scoring efficiently, not only was it scoring at all 3 levels, he had some big defensive plays in this game. After a Pelicans game where Sharpe was honestly awful defensively, he was much better tonight. The Blazers give up 131 points. It's not the number you want to see on the scoreboard, but when Steph Curry is doing what Steph Curry does, you can play great defense and sometimes it doesn't matter. Shaedon Sharpe had some really, really good defensive plays in this one. Also had 4 steals. he wasn't really attacked either. It's always easy to just look at, 4 steals, 1 block. That's really nice on the stat sheet, but the Pelicans kind of attacked him a little bit in the previous game where the Blazers defense was awful, giving up 143 points to what was the worst team in the league. Much better tonight, just from a competitiveness aspect and the energy in Modus. I was there, in person. The energy looked good. I don't know how it looked like on the television screen compared to that Pelicans letdown, but the energy was, the Blazers played hard in this game. There was times where it seemed like this game might get away from them there in the second half, but they fought back, and that's the type of energy and effort and clutch defensive plays that we saw early in the season from this team that had been missing a bit recently. The Blazers were down 5 with about 2.5 minutes remaining. That was a point in time where, after seeing a lot of tough Blazer losses so far this season, it was, there's definitely a part of me that still believed, but there was a part of me like, oh, here we go again. Here we go again with the Portland Trail Blazers. They get close, but Steph Curry going off has 48 points. It was a rough position to be in after fighting as hard as they did, playing as hard as they did in this game, just to get 3 after 3 poured on them by Steph Curry. But the Blazers didn't quit. They had I'm looking at the wrong box score here. I'll go through some of those final plays because, man, was that a fun end to that basketball game. We got the player of the poll going, or player of the game poll going in chat. There's only 3 viable options: Denny Avdija, Shaedon Sharpe, and Jeremy Grant. You can vote for who you think is the player of the game. I'll share mine a little bit later. But definitely vote in that poll because this is one of the more competitive polls this season, with 2 Blazers scoring 35 tonight. Right now we got Shaedon Sharpe, 65% of the vote. And listen, I'm cool with that. Shaedon Sharpe played absolutely great. But let me pull up the play-by-play here. Once again, Eric will join us here shortly once he arrives home safely, hopefully. So Blazers down 5, 2.5 minutes left in this game. This was after a Steph Curry driving layup. Who hits a clutch 3? It was Jeremy Grant. It seemed like he hit a million clutch 3s in this game. Of course, he had back-to-back corner 3s when the Blazers were actually able to get out and push some pace. There were some moments where it was like, oh, there's the fast break Blazers that we haven't really seen lately. There was just things in this game that I felt like we had been missing in terms of the Blazers playing fast, the Blazers kind of scrambling well defensively, having competitive defensive possessions. We've been missing that, unfortunately, with the amount of losses that have poured up recently. But Jeremy Grant cuts it to 2 with a huge 3. And then the Blazers draw an offensive foul against Brandon Podziemski. And then Denny Avdija hits a clutch driving and 1 layup. Denny missed some shots around the rim that normally he makes. It wasn't the most efficient night from him. He was 6 for 16 from the field, but he got to the line 13 times and made 12 of those free throws. So he ended up with 26 points on 16 shot attempts. I wonder what the true shooting percentage is there, but it's an efficient night. Just could have been more efficient if Denny finished a couple of close shots around the rim, which you expect him to make, but doesn't let it affect him. He comes down, drives, gets an ammo against Draymond Green, still driving hard, still playing with confidence. He's playing with a swagger right now that I just really, really like. And that puts the Blazers up 1. Of course, right after that, Steph Curry has to make another 3 with 1.5 minutes remaining to put the Warriors up 129-127. Blazers come back the other way. Jeremy Grant has a baseline cut, gets the ball, comes out the other side of the rim, fades away, got fouled, knocks it down. He had some really impressive buckets in this game. He was absolutely terrific. So Jeremy Grant, another clutch bucket to put the Blazers up 130-129, and they would not look back after that. Denny Avdija gets a couple clutch free throws there down the stretch. Shaedon Sharpe gets a huge blocked shot there down the stretch where he timed up, I believe it was a Draymond Green drive, and he rotated. And Sharpe looked, there was a couple of defensive possessions where Sharpe looked quick, Sharpe looked engaged, which I would hope he would be in a close game at the end. But I think it was the offensive foul by Podziemski the moving screen where Steph was running off a screen and Sharp switched it super quick, even if it wasn't a foul. It was a really good job by Sharp to switch quickly out onto Steph, and Steph would have had to shoot a really tough three. And those are the types of little things where it's like, all right, you want Sharp to recognize things defensively quickly, and that was just a great read, and it didn't end up mattering because it was a moving screen, but that's the type of stuff I notice, and that's the type of stuff that impresses me if Shane Sharp can just be a little bit more locked in off the ball and make some of the defensive plays he made down the stretch. It's the difference between winning and losing games, because without Shane Sharp stepping up in those final minutes, the Blazers don't win this basketball game. So huge shout out to him. And then huge shout out to Toumani Camara. He struggled a bit defensively in this game, had 5 fouls. He's struggled defensively this season. It's no secret. He is not playing at the defensive level he played at last year. And we've dissected it. We've talked about it, how he's gambling too much, playing too much for steals. He had a great clutch defensive play, which I think was really good for him on a Steph Curry pass. He doubled Steph off a Draymond Green pick and roll. Steph tried to flip it back to Green, and Toumani got his hands on the ball, went to Sharp, got a steal. That kind of sealed the game. Toumani, for his defensive struggles, or at least, him not playing up to his standard defensively this season, has come up with a couple of big game-sealing defensive plays. He, of course, had that block against the Denver Nuggets on Halloween night, the 31st of October. Big block where it came over from the weak side. And today has a game-sealing steal, game-sealing deflection against Steph Curry and the Warriors. So at least he's made some timely defensive plays. He still needs to kind of just be a little bit more solid, foul a little bit less, get out of position a little bit less, just be a little bit more disciplined defensively. But, at least he shows up when it matters, and he showed up when it mattered today. The Blazers clutch play all around as they come back from that 5-point deficit with 2.5 minutes remaining and get an absolutely huge win to beat the Golden State Warriors for the 3rd time this year. The Blazers have 10 wins. 3 of them are against the Golden State Warriors. All of a sudden, I really like playing this team because not only is it terrific basketball and entertaining basketball, but the Blazers win. Of course, they had that 20-point blowout win against the Warriors at the start of the season, and then they had the Caleb Love game that I attended on the road, my first NBA road game. By the way, I will have a vlog dropping. It might drop a month after that game, but I will have a vlog dropping. There's a ton of footage that I have been meaning to edit. So that'll drop before Christmas. And it'll detail me going and seeing the Blazers win in San Francisco against the Warriors. That was November 21st. And then I witnessed another Warriors loss. And I just got to say, I love witnessing Warriors losses. This team has tortured me for a decade. This team has tortured the NBA for the most part for a decade. So it's always awesome to be in person and witness a Warriors loss. I had Warriors fans sitting behind me. They were more Steph fans. They didn't really cheer when anything happened except for Steph threes. It seems like there's a lot of Warriors fans that are actually more so Steph fans. So I wonder what happens when Steph retires. I think, they'll go find another team to be a fan of. But, Warriors fans behind me, the Blazers pulling out a close win. That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about. So super excited about this win. This was a win that the Blazers needed to move to 10-16 on the year now. We've talked about how they've been banged up. They've had a really tough schedule, and they've had some struggles that I don't think you can make excuses for. I think they've underachieved a little bit defensively with some of the defensive pieces that they still have on the floor. But they have a great opportunity in front of them. Lots of home games. Hopefully reinforcements coming back soon, which is the word today, that basically everybody's practicing or everybody's doing something at least at the practice facility. Scoot is still non-contact, but they kind of, to me, implied that he might be close to starting to ramp up here. I'm super excited for Scoot to return. I wouldn't expect it before the new year, but hopefully sometime early January, Scoot can return. Hopefully Drew can get back. Apparently he's, at least doing something as well. Sharp, hopefully he's off this minutes restriction. Hopefully he's able to stay healthy for an extended period of time here because he, of course, had his struggles early in the season. He got the Blazers' big men back, and the Blazers have, I think, the easiest schedule the rest of the year in the NBA, or close to it. They've had a really tough schedule. So while they're 10-16, and while we've been doing Tankathon Sims on recent post-game shows, the Blazers still have a great opportunity in front of them. they still have a great opportunity in front of them. They are a team that's capable, I think, of going on like an 8-2 stretch, and then all of a sudden they're 500 again. The Warriors right now are below 500. Okay, I truly do think the Blazers are capable of playing their way into the 7-8 game. Of course, Phoenix is 4 games ahead of Portland. Phoenix is 7th, and then Golden State, after this Blazers win, is only 2.5 games ahead of Portland, and Portland has the tiebreaker. They won all 3 games. So this type of game could be very, very meaningful for trying to pass up Golden State. The 2 teams in between them. Portland's tied with Dallas for 10th right now. And then Memphis, who is starting to turn things around. But I think Portland should be in this mix of teams. You know, Phoenix, Golden State, Memphis, Dallas. There's a 3-game difference between Minnesota at 6th and Phoenix at 7th. I don't think the Blazers will play all the way up to 6th. The Timberwolves are 17-9, so the Blazers are already 7 games back. It's going to be tough to make that up. But if you can get a 7-8 playing game, you know, a 7 seed gets you a home playing game, and you can, if you win that game, you're the 7th seed. You don't have to go up against the Thunder. You maybe get a series against Denver or Houston or the Lakers or the Spurs. Like, that's the goal for the Portland Trail Blazers, is to get into that 7-8 seed play-in game and then win that game, that first game, so you don't have to go against the Thunder. You can get into the playoffs. You can have a playoff series against a team that maybe you feel like you have a chance of beating, because honestly, right now, the Thunder seem pretty damn unbeatable, even with the Blazers' 1 win against them. So the Blazers are still very much in play if they can turn things around. And that's why some of the losses that they had against the Pelicans, some of the close losses were really frustrating, because the Blazers could be in 8th right now, could be in 7th after all the injuries, after the tough schedule, after all the road games. Before this game, the Blazers have played 16 of their 25 games on the road. But this was the type of win they needed to just kind of course correct things. They had been losing a lot of games. Now you have 2 games coming up against the Sacramento Kings, who are one of the worst teams in the West. If this can be a little 3-game winning streak, that all of a sudden, yeah, we're right back in that picture for the 8th seed. Maybe you can gain some ground on Phoenix. They lost tonight against the Lakers. Bunch of home games coming up. Some easier opponents, you know, the Clippers, the Mavericks. The Blazers can truly turn things around here, and it started, hopefully, tonight with this victory that they got over the Golden State Warriors. Also, we'll do a call-in night tonight. If you want to call into the show, especially since Eric isn't here, and I, slightly lost my voice of the game, I'll let you guys call in. Maybe we'll get a caller or 2 before Eric joins, because I am really trying not to lose my voice, and I'm already starting to feel it. So I'll start up the call-in in our Discord. If you're not in our Discord, make sure you join our Discord. I might do some more live film breakdowns in our Discord. Maybe not during streams. Maybe just kind of, just random little stuff in the Discord. We have game threads in there. It's a lot of fun. So if you're not in our Discord, make sure to join our Discord. There's a link in the description box below. Let me know if that link doesn't work as well, because we can fix that. We can get you a fresh link if we need to. But yeah, we'll do the call in through our Discord. Eric driving from downtown Portland all the way to Forest Grove. Yeah, he's North Plains area, so it's a bit of a drive. But I mean, the game also ended an hour ago, so I don't know. Let me check my texts. Let me get an Eric ETA. But yeah, if you want to call in, I've started the call in the Discord. You can call in. Oh, Eric's in the chat. Eric, give me an Eric ETA. Also, shout out to... I'm sorry, but I don't know how to read your name because it's Chinese characters? Or Japanese characters? I'm sorry, I don't know the characters. I'm sorry if that's the wrong country, but they had a $1 donation, so thank you for that. Sorry, I can only read English, unfortunately, but I appreciate it. Were you on 200 level? Thought I saw you. No, I was 100 level. You can guess what I was wearing. Maybe you saw me. Or unless you're talking about Eric. I don't know where Eric was. Do you want me to join you to make you feel better about your voice, Tori? No, I do not, Connor. Your voice... Connor has like 10% of his voice, and he sounds like he's 105 years old right now, so... You can ask him why in the chat if you want. But yeah, terrific win for your Blazers. They're 10-16 now. Next game against the Kings. They get some rest over the stretch, which I think is good for them considering how banged up they are. So the next game is not until Thursday. Shout out to Chapel Perilous, who gifted 5 Blazers Uprise memberships. And they went to T-Bird, Anthony, and Andrew's mom. Shout out to Andrew's mom. Alex Wolf, who just always gets gifted memberships. And then the other name I don't know how to read. But shout out to you guys. Shout out to Chapel. You guys got gifted some Blazers Uprise memberships. And we'll finally announce some stuff. The 22nd of December, we'll announce some member stuff. I've been a little bit behind with building out the post-game show, and I need to get some stuff like coded, that sort of thing. And I'm a very busy guy with the day job and all of that. So luckily, I get a couple of weeks off end of December over the holidays. So I'm going to pour a lot of time into the channel. So hopefully you guys are ready. And hopefully the Blazers are winning so it can be an exciting time. Because, man, it's been rough losing the games that the Blazers lost. They were 5-3 to end up 9-16. You know, that's 4-13. A 4-13 stretch that they were on. So hopefully this is turning the corner. Please talk about City Sissoko. We'll break down every Blazer. I kind of want to wait for Eric. So I don't know when Eric will show up. But, yeah, if you want to call in, we can take your calls in our Discord. You should see a call it on the left. We used to get a lot more callers when we did Twitter Spaces. Maybe we need to go back to that, but I kind of just like keeping it to the Discord. But yeah, give me your thoughts. Give me your main takeaways on this game in the chat. I'll read off the best ones. It could be on a player. It can be on the style of play. Steph. It can be on anything. I want to call, but not sure what to ask. If you just have a question, you can always leave it in the chat. But yeah, it's all good. I just like opening up the phones. Shaden's defense. Yeah, Shaden's defense was much better today than it was against the Pelicans. Caleb Love's passing. Yeah, you had a lot of Blazers kind of doing stuff they don't normally do. Caleb Love had some nice feeds in this game. He likes playing the Warriors for whatever reason. Like, he was serviceable. He didn't play a ton, but he was solid when he did. They said Scoot is 1 more month. Where and when did you see that? AJ said most complete game from Shaden in a while. Shot selection had been much better. Yeah, given how well he's shooting the ball, I was happy with the shot selection today. You know, he took a couple tough threes, but he made them. And he took 7 out of his 18 shots were from 3. When he's making threes, like, cool with that. Attacked, picked his spots really well. Had a couple nice feeds in this game, like this. And then you look at the defense as well. This was, I think, the most complete, like, 35-point game that Shaden's had. And maybe he's had a better stat line, but given that he's, you know, it's not a tanking game and it's a game against the Warriors, like, and he's trying to match Steph step for step, which is pretty much impossible on a night like tonight. Huge game from Sharp. I will say he's my player of the game. I agree with the results so far in pool. I love how Eric just came in chat to tell somebody they're wrong, and I was asking for his ETA, and there was no response. No response. He just wanted to tell somebody that they were wrong. So let me hit his line. ETA. Whoops, I don't want to send him a voice message. I don't need to send him a voice message. All right. Couple minutes. All right, there we go. I just had to shame him into giving me an ETA. Can you guys? Does my voice sound different, chat? Can you tell I went to the game today? We got Michelle getting the caps ready for Eric. What's up, Mubsy? Sounds like you smoked a fire pack. Yeah. Luckily, I don't smoke, so. Did we get an answer to where Chat doing show last week was where you heard a month? Okay. So that kind of aligns with what I was saying. Like 3 weeks from today is January 4th. So if last week he said a month, that puts him, maybe first full week of January. Early to mid-January. That'll be exciting. That'll be exciting to have Scoot back. That's the thing that kind of sucks about this stretch is Scoot would have really gotten the chance to kind of take off. He's probably going to be a little bit rusty coming back off of this, which is going to suck. Like he's going to need time to adjust. I'm sure people will be ready to overreact to his very first game, though, if he doesn't look great. I saw Casey Holdall say he was ramping up on Twitter. Thought maybe he would be back before Christmas. I mean, he's still non-contact. So Christmas is in 11 days. I don't think he's coming back before Christmas. I would not expect him back before the new year. That injury really, really sucks, man, that he had to deal with. But you got home games January 5th against Utah, January 7th against Houston, January 9th against Houston, January 11th versus New York. Like somewhere on that homestand would be my hope. Not sure if Tori missed the question. What question did I miss? Let me know. They really healed Scoot's hamstring, though, unlike the other hamstring guy, Jalen Green. Yeah, hopefully this just means like, all right, he's not going to re-injure it. He's not going to have lingering issues. They're just making sure he gets 100%. That's how they should approach this. Raytech said, Tori, it felt like Splitter tried to not let Denny and Sharp play a lot together today. Do you think he prefers Sharp lead sometimes and Denny lead sometimes? I think it's basically those two guys are your best like perimeter shot creators in this game. Jeremy created shots, but he's more of like a forward, spot up, attack closeouts, try and drive off ISO, but he's not really like a playmaker for others. So I think the staggering was just mainly to have one of those guys on the floor at all times. Because if you don't have one of those guys on the floor at all times, then who's your point guard, basically? You have Sadie, Sissoko, Chris Murray, Jeremy Grant lineups like, Robert Williams, Caleb Love, or Rupert. You're really going to struggle to generate good offense with lineups like that. Like, you basically need one of Denny or Sharp on the floor in a game like this. So, and listen, Caleb Love did some nice things in this game, generating offense, but you don't want him to be your main guy that you're relying upon at a guard spot. Tristan says, if Scoot misses all year, the Blazers really fumbled this injury. If they just had him have surgery, if he needed it, he would be back pretty soon. Yeah. I'm so excited to have Scoot back. All right, there we go. Oops, I hid the wrong camera. All right, Eric finally arrives.
What's up?
He's finally here. Finally here. What's up, man? Do you drive to games or do you?
I take Max from the
Okay,
Sunset Transit Center, yeah. So.
Gotcha. I messed up my mic.
Then I had to take my mom home.
Got you. Alrighty.
What's up, everyone?
Volume levels good. Chat. Let me know if either one of us is a little quiet. But all right, Eric. My voice is a little worn from the game, and I've been soloing this for 30 minutes. So give me your thoughts and your major takeaways from what was an awesome win today.
Yeah, obviously, story of the game, I think, was both Shaden Sharp's breakout, especially in that third quarter when it seemed like things were slipping away from us. And then Jeremy Grant's clutch buckets in the fourth quarter. Without either of those performances, I think, obviously, we probably lose this game pretty easily. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what we were doing on Steph. He also hit some crazy shots. But anytime you see a performance like that and still get the W, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think the Blazers kind of struggled getting through screens on him, and there wasn't really enough help on those screens is the biggest reason why he got going. And he hit some tough threes, but listen, you let Steph get an open look and he knocks one down, then he'll hit three insane ones. That's just kind of how it goes with him. So it wasn't the best defense on him. I think like kind of when he started to get going, there was a couple of times where he just kind of flew off screens and the defender guarding him died on the screen and there wasn't enough help, and it's basically practice shots for the greatest shooter ever. You don't want to give those up, but I do think the defense got better. He's still just made some tough shots. And then at the end, I thought they played pretty damn good defense on him.
Yeah, I mean, he did blow that lay-in. Rewatching that play back.
Yeah, he smoked.
After watching it live, I was like, oh, I thought we defended it pretty well, but then I realized
I was sitting close enough to know he just smoked it. And there was Warriors fans right behind me, so I had a lot of fun yelling that he smoked that layup.
Yeah, so got a little lucky there. He also... he had one, I think it was right after that we had a really good double team on him. It was a really tough shot. He missed that one. I thought right after that, he got a clean look at a three and just back rimmed it. But I don't know if it was like great defense, but he definitely ran out of gas there at the end, thank goodness, because, I mean, we definitely didn't want to see him hit more threes after he'd already set the franchise record against us after last game when we had the franchise record for points in the paint set against us and a new opponent franchise record.
Yeah, man, it would be nice to not have opponents get franchise records against us. So let's not do that again. But I want to pull up the stats from this game are insane, like the team stats. So I'm about to pull those up.
The 3-point shooting from both teams is crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how you win or lose a game shooting 50% from three on high volume, which both teams. I didn't see the final number for the Warriors. Did they end up going below 50% with their last couple shots?
Nope. Look at this.
Above?
Both teams shot 51% from the field. Both teams shot 51% from three.
Yeah.
The Blazers, huge shout out to the Blazers free throw shooting tonight. 90% from the charity stripe, 26 for 29. The Warriors were 19 for 23. The turnovers were equal. Points off turnovers were equal. Fast break points were almost identical. Paint points were almost identical. Like, everything is basically identical across the board. It's just funny because the Blazers had kind of multiple guys step up and make threes, and then Warriors, half of their threes were from Steph. Where it's just Steph doing things. And, Shaden Sharp had 5 threes, but Steph had 12, right? So it was done a little bit differently, but it's funny to look at this and just see how identical it is across the board. The thing is, the Blazers got a couple more offensive boards, and they got to the free throw line a little bit more, and they matched all the shooting numbers. That's the difference in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I took a picture of the stats at halftime. Both teams were shooting identical, 10 of 22 from three. So even better shooting in the second half, 45% by both teams in the first half. We only had 9 free throws in the first half. 5 of those were from Denny very early in this game. And so barely got to the line in the first half, got to the line 20 times the second half. That's good. Yeah, turnovers, we had 11 at halftime, so did a much better job of taking care of the ball in the second half, because that was killing us at one point.
Yeah.
They had we had 10 turnovers, and then they had like 14 points off of turnovers. That was really hurting us. And then it felt like in the first half we had that stretch at the end of the first quarter, was it, or was it the end of the second quarter, or was it both quarters?
I don't know.
Might have been both quarters, but we had that horrible stretch where we turned the ball over a couple times and they hit a bunch of shots at the end of a quarter.
It was after they took Sharp out with 2 minutes left in the first quarter, and Sharp was playing well. I was a little bit frustrated with the sub. And
so that kind of frustrated me a little bit. And then we were up, 24-13 at one point, up 11 points. And then Golden State goes on 11 overrun to tie it, and then takes a 2-point lead after that. It just like, oh man, we came out, we're on fire, we're playing really well, and then we just let them right back in the game. And then it really felt like in that third quarter, this game could have easily gotten away from us. I think Sharp got subbed out, and we went down 9 points, and then he came back in, and we cut it down again and made it respectable. But just happy this game never got too far out of control, because when you watch Steph in person shoot those incredible threes, and then he's dancing on the sideline in front of his bench and stuff, it's like, oh man, this game's over.
Yeah.
But we found a way, and that's all you can ask for. And good teams will scrap and find a way to win these games, even against a remarkable performance like that. And Blazers just found a way to get it done.
Yeah, what do you think this win means just at this point in the season? Of course it's only one game, but the Blazers have really struggled to win close games, it feels like, the past month, or ever since they were 5-3 essentially, and they're super banged up, and now they're coming home after playing a lot of road games. This, to me, felt like a really important game for them to get.
Yeah, the difficulty with that question is every time we feel like they have a game like this that could turn their momentum or turn their season into a positive direction, they come out and then lay an egg when they start feeling themselves again. And so I can never really say that this will be a stepping stone. I'm very hopeful with the way they played tonight that this can be a stepping stone. But once again, if you shoot 50% from three, you're probably going to win most games outside of the loser of this game tonight. So once again, it was just the Blazers hit a bunch of threes, and we know that they can beat pretty much anyone if they're hitting threes. And they seem to like hitting threes against the Warriors, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
but
I kind of just mean it from the standpoint of, at this point in the season, you just got to make sure it doesn't get away from you. So you just got to find ways to pull out wins. This could have easily been one of those games that we look at that got away, like Miami late, like Orlando late, and there's a few other examples we could look back to, right? And, we focus so much on the process and how things need to get better defensively and how they're the worst three-point shooting team in the league, and yeah, the process, there's still some things that need to improve, and it's getting some players back will help them perform better, but they also need to improve and clean some things up. That's no secret. That's why they gave up 143 against the Pelicans. But essentially, it's like, all right, those things are all true, but are you either going to find ways, despite needing to clean some things up, are you going to find ways to win games now that you have a lot of home games, now the schedule's lightening up? Are you going to find ways to get wins and stay in the picture for a 7-8 play-in, which I think should absolutely be the goal for the Blazers this year, because that gives you a chance to avoid OKC in the first round if you can win that first play-in game? Or is it going to be something where the season continues to get away and maybe you're not even in the 9-10 play-in, and now we're talking about ping-pong balls and tanking at the end of the year, right? And I feel like this upcoming stretch, as I talked about recently, is super important for them to. I don't care how they get it done. I mean, I do care how they get it done because I want to see this team improve upon what they need to improve upon. But really, they just need to find a way to scratch wins and keep their season together, get these reinforcements back, and then, hopefully clean this stuff up. So I felt like this was a really important game just because it was one of those games that they just found a way to win. Steph Curry had 12 freaking threes and went off against you, and you easily could have lost this game multiple times there in the second half, but you had a bunch of guys step up. You score 75 in the second half, and you just found a way to get a much-needed win against a team that they're the 8th seed right now. So the Blazers now have the tiebreaker with them. They would have been 4.5 games behind them with one more game left to go where maybe Golden State can win the tiebreaker. If they won that next game, it would be 2-2. Instead, the Blazers are up 3-0 in the season series and cut that lead to 2.5. So I think it was just a huge game for the standings. A huge game because it came against Golden State and you sealed the tiebreaker, but also just a huge game because at some point they're going to have to find ways to win games like this, and this was one of them. It's only one of them, but at least it's one of them compared to struggling and finding a way to lose this game, which they've had so much of lately.
Absolutely, and the vibes were pretty down after that Pelicans loss. It seemed like the locker room was kind of down on themselves, and that has the potential, like you mentioned, to lead to kind of a snowball effect, where if you lose this game too, maybe this season just falls off the rails completely. But I think it's the crazy thing is, I mean, despite how the Blazers have been playing, you look at the standings every time, and they were still in 9th for a long time. They were still in 10th for a long time. But you look today before this game, and they're sitting there at 12th place, right? Now all of a sudden,
below Utah.
Utah has passed them by half a game. Not Miami. Dallas has been playing well since Anthony Davis came back. They're rising up the standings. This Golden State team's ahead of them. The Grizzlies, like you mentioned, have been getting it under control a little bit. And so you find yourself like in that situation where we were talking about, hey, man, you've had a tough schedule. You've had these injuries. Your record isn't good, but you're still right where you want to be in terms of being there to accomplish your goal of at least having a crack at that play-in to make the playoffs this year. And so, but then you look at the standings today and you're like, wait a minute, we might not even be better than Utah. Like, we're at 12th right now. This is definitely a situation that could lead to this season just being a completely lost season. And so winning this game over a team that's ahead of you, it's still pretty jumbled in there with all these teams. There's still a lot of basketball left. Get healthy at some point, start tweaking some things. Hopefully this coaching staff starts to implement a little bit better schemes than they've ran so far this year. And I agree with you, man. I still think this team should be fighting at least for that upper play-in spot. And that's part of why we've been so frustrated or negative, if you want to call it that, on what's happened so far this year, even, and why we haven't just given them the injury excuses, because I feel like despite everything that's happened, it's not like it should have been that difficult to stay in that race, and to see them slip to 12th to me was a major disappointment. So hopefully they can stack wins, especially against teams that are fighting with them in that stretch. The Kings are down way below us. I think we play them twice, right?
Yeah. Next two games are against the Kings.
We have a home and away with them. So, you gotta win games like that, I think, against the lower teams in the standings, unlike the Pelicans game. Otherwise, this game didn't really mean much if you can't take care of business against the Kings. So I don't know if Sabonis is back yet or not, but I know he was injured, so wouldn't be surprised if he's still not back yet.
Let me check that box score. I'll check that box score right now. So he's not back. So they started Westbrook, Levine, DeRozan, Keegan Murray, and Maxime Reynaud. Mm-hmm. Tonight they lost to the Timberwolves 117-103. their three best players, I mean, DeRozan had 17, but they had 17 off the bench from Achua, 17 off the bench from Schroeder, and 16 off the bench from Monk. So they have some pieces off the bench that can do some damage. Their starting lineup, they just don't play defense. Their defense is awful. And they're not really cohesive offensively. This needs to... The Blazers, I don't want to sit there and say, like, they need to win both necessarily, but I kind of feel that way. Like, this is a team you're better than, or should be better than. This is a team that's had massive issues this season. The Kings are 6-20. You got a home game against them next. That road game, maybe the Blazers can have Drew Holiday back, you know? Find a way to win both these games. You got to at least win one of them. I think the Blazers will at least win one of them, but this is just the point of the season where now you're starting to get more opponents like this that you should be better than, you know, and they should have beat the Pelicans. They were favored against the Pelicans despite the injuries. And when we talk about, you know, when we broke down that game, it was mainly just, yeah, they're missing guys, but that doesn't just give them a blanket excuse where anything that happens, like, doesn't matter. I can't stand the narrative that because the Blazers have injuries, therefore you can't talk about what's happening on the court. It's easy to sit here and, like, not watch the game and say, how could you criticize the defense in this game? Look at who played in the box score. You don't have to watch the game to sit there and make that excuse. Like, that excuse actually isn't based on anything, and it drives me crazy because it's just like, that's kind of what I think people that don't watch the games or pay attention to the games can sit there and say. Like, that's not analysis, right? Listen, there's still good defensive players on this team. It's not like they're running out the entire Rip City remix lineup where, of course, they're going to get killed by an NBA team. I mean, Repair can go down to the G League and score 20 in his sleep. You still got pieces, and you still got good defensive pieces. So, you know, there's tons of mistakes in that Pelicans game that were mistakes that guys should be better than making. It was mistakes from players that should be better defensively than the mistakes they were making. So, you know, when we evaluate the process, we're not just going to sit here and say, oh yeah, injuries, that's the only thing that matters. None of the defensive mistakes can be explained by anything other than who wasn't out there on the floor. Because you still got pieces out there on the floor that need to play defense. Chris Murray still needs to play, needed to play better defense. Last game he was a bit brutal. Today he had some kind of rough moments as well defensively, to be honest. But, you know, it's players like that still need to step in and perform where they're strong. You know, I'm not expecting Chris Murray to hit 5 threes. I'm not expecting Chris Murray to have 5 assists. I'm expecting him to come in and just play solid defense and not make defensive mistakes. And that's the case for a lot of players on this team. So the defensive struggles that happened lately, yeah, of course having Clingan helps. Of course having Rob Williams helps. But also they need to play better. Both things can be true. Also, they should be held to a higher standard. You know, I feel like a lot of people just view it as one thing or the other, where if you have injuries, then you can just excuse every single mistake they make defensively with, look who's not out there on the floor. But, yeah, having better defensive players helps. Having centers helps. Yeah, well, it annoys me. Having Drew would help defensively. Having Clingan, having Rob Williams helps defensively. But also, when you're making defensive mistakes, you have guys falling asleep. You have one guy thinking switch and one guy not switching, that sort of stuff. And you're giving up buckets that way. You don't just excuse that with injuries, because that's basic defensive stuff that the Blazers have been struggling a bit with lately. So, you know, when we talk about the theme of this game, is it a big win? Can they start to win some games? You got winnable games against the Kings coming up. The type of stuff they did in the Pelicans game, if they do that, even with these players back, if they make a lot of the defensive mistakes they made in that game, if they run a 1-2-2 and have it get eviscerated like they did in that game, then you could see a loss to the Kings. But if they can clean that sort of stuff up, I like their offensive firepower. The Kings' defense struggles. You know, if they can continue to just move the ball, I thought they moved the ball pretty well at times in this game. They got stagnant here and there, but I think it's at least there's some stretches where they move the ball well. Then you're talking about a team that could win 2 games, and you're sitting there 12-16, and things are looking a lot better than it did, a week ago. So that's why the process matters. Being able to clean up some of this defensive stuff matters. And it's kind of hard to judge it today when you just have somebody like Steph Curry going absolutely nuclear. But hopefully, these games against the Kings, they're going to be rested. Hopefully they have some reinforcements. Hopefully they're just more locked in mentally, defensively, and they're able to make some progress here with this home and home coming up with the Kings.
Yeah, and you think about just how few games they've had in this stretch. playing just Thursday and today since Sunday, and then have another few days off here. You would think that that's enough time to implement some of these just tweaks to their schemes and try to get that a little bit more locked in. Like you mentioned, there was just been too many times recently where it doesn't seem like the defense is on the same page in terms of who knows what their assignments are or what they're supposed to do in certain situations. And they've had a lot of lineups that seem like, oh, here's Chris Murray's guy setting a screen for City Sissoko. Like, why aren't we just auto switching any picks between those two guys when they're in the game together? And half the time it gets messed up and things like that. But those kind of things should be really easy. And you would think over the next few days they have time to kind of refocus some of their attention to those little details and hopefully come out of it with some better ability to kind of game plan certain teams in certain situations and have certain lineups be switchable to the point where we're not having to make these kind of mistakes, or it's not really something you even have to think about. You're just auto switching when we don't have a center in the lineup or whatever, and no point guard. So like everyone's about the same size. So things like that should get locked in over the next few days. Hopefully we don't see a letdown game, because if we're talking about on Thursday a performance like the Pelicans the other night where we lose by like 20 to the Kings and we look lifeless again, that's going to be very frustrating coming off this great performance.
Oh, absolutely. Basically, they have a great opportunity in front of themselves. They have a lot of areas of improvement. The health improving will help them out. The schedule gets easier, more home games. Like, there's so many things that haven't been in their favor that are going to hopefully start moving in their favor. I say hopefully because hopefully they can be healthier. Hopefully they can, not be injured like they've been injured so much lately. So if all these things break in their way, start going their way, then you could see a team that starts winning a lot of basketball games. They are capable of it. They just have to clean up some of the things that they've struggled with and seize this opportunity in front of them, because this season, I feel like a lot of Blazer fans have kind of given up on the season a little bit. It's not time to give up on the season yet. It's not time to give up on the goal of making the playoffs yet. This team is very capable and will have a great opportunity coming up. I think, the next month is going to be very telling if they're going to seize that opportunity or not. So that's what I'm rooting for. I'm not aboard the tank yet. It's I want to see this team continue to progress and build upon last year. It's hard to say they've really done that early this season. So hopefully they can start doing that with the stretch of games coming up, and hopefully this is just the start. Shout out to Hail Blazers for becoming an all-star level member. Thank you to Hail Blazers. Welcome to the club. Shout out to Chapel Perilous, who gifted memberships earlier. Thank you. He also has a member message for 18 months. Says, would it make sense to go after Trey Murphy, or is that too costly? I think Trey Murphy is a great fit here. His offense here would be awesome. His shooting ability, 6'8". If Tamani continues to kind of struggle a little bit defensively and Trey Murphy's available and it doesn't cost too much and you want to go add him to this core and you like having Tamani off the bench as like a six-man defensive piece, it's hard to argue against that depending on the price. I've always been a Trey Murphy fan. I liked him in his draft. I love that the Pelicans picked him up. I loved it for the Pelicans. I thought it was a great pick, and he's returned a ton of value on that investment. So We'll have more time to talk about trades, though. And we're caught up. Let's talk about let's dive into the players, man. I mean, there's a ton of great performances to talk about from tonight. Shane Sharp, 35 points. Also had 4 steals. I thought he had a block, but I guess they called it a steal because maybe it was a lob. I don't know. Grant, 35 points. Avdija, 26 points. Sharp didn't have a block in the ESPN box score. I swear he blocked a shot late.
Yeah, they counted. It was there was a guy cutting baseline. I think it was the right call to call it a. It looked like a block, but it was a lob pass, I think. So.
Yeah.
But man, there was a couple times in this game where the Blazers turned the ball over and it looked kind of dire as Golden State's running the back the other way, and Sharp makes a great read and steals the ball right back. I thought he was really good just seeing the floor from a defensive playmaking perspective. There were a couple times where he was guarding Curry and kind of stopped, and Curry just did his little step back and got like 5 feet of space from him, and Sharp just got kind of stuck in cement. And then there was a play late in this game where Steph Curry ran the floor right down the middle all the way to the basket. Sharp was the only one back, recognizes it's Curry, gets back on him, but then Curry fades to the far corner and Sharp lets him go. And they pass to Curry in the corner. He's wide open for three. That still a couple of lapses there. But I thought overall his defense was really good. Like I said, just reading some of those passing lanes, especially when Golden State was trying to get in transition. And then also, I thought he did a really good job of jumping a few screens in the second half. And I think that was just enough to kind of throw Steph off a couple of times and have to give up the ball. And I mean, obviously Steph still had a great game, but I did like to see some of the process of Sharp, just his mindset on defense. If you could just tweak some of those other little things, his individual isolation defense, and just kind of recognizing further that you can't leave Curry like on a transition thing like that. I thought this would have been almost a perfect game from him. But as it was, just fantastic to watch him tonight. I thought he was the main reason we stayed in this game, and was just huge in that third quarter. Like you said earlier, I didn't want him to come out when they took him out, but obviously, his minutes have been an issue, whether he's been limited in minutes tonight. I don't think he's restricted, but you could tell he was a little tired. I don't think he would have been able to last like the whole rest of the game without subbing out for a little bit. But sure enough, he gets subbed out, and the Blazers find themselves losing again. And but tonight, I really thought this was like an example of what, we see these flashes sometimes, and it's like, wow, Shaedon can still get there. He can still, I mean, he's obviously not going to shoot as well as he did tonight all the time, especially with how his shooting splits have been the last couple of years. But like, he took over this game for a while and was matching Curry like shot for shot. And he actually had a ton of good passes too in this game. Only ends up with 4 assists, but like, he had a lot of kick out passes. I thought he tried to throw a lob pass that didn't quite work out, but I thought that was the right decision. It was just good to see him not only just scoring for himself, but like it did seem like he was making a concerted effort to try and look for teammates at times too.
Yeah, this was a complete game. Defensively, for me, just be more competitive on the ball and don't have effort lapses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, transition defense, you take away Steph's run to the rim, but then nobody else is around the rim, so you stay around the rim and hope that somebody running back on the wing will pick up Steph. Like, okay, yeah, sure, stay with Steph there, but like, that's a mistake I can live with. That's not him being non-competitive at the point of attack. That's not him having an effort lapse. You know what I mean? I can live with that stuff from somebody who in the starting five is supposed to be the worst offensive player, and you count on him to provide offense, right? I also agree that he did get tired. There was my least favorite shot of the game was when he had Podziemski pressed on him, and he it was in the second half, and he drove right and had a step on him, and then kind of settled for a mid-range pull-up instead of trying to get all the way to the rim, and he got subbed out right after that. That was the type of shot where it's like, oh man, he's tired, so he kind of settles for a mid-range pull-up there when he could have easily, I think, gotten to the rim. He had a step on Podziemski, so it was frustrating for me too when he's going to get him subbed out, but also, to your point, he has been on minutes restrictions, and I think you kind of got to build towards that point where he's capable of playing, 37, 38 minutes in a close game. I don't want him playing that many a game, but a game like this, that's, kind of what I would hope to see when he's playing really well. He can get a couple more minutes and continue his production, because he had 31 at the end of the third and he finished with 35. He made some good defensive plays in the fourth quarter, so, he still had an impact, but that was kind of where it seemed like, at the end of the third quarter, it was like, oh, he might be able to drop 45 today, and then he ends up with 35, kind of doesn't really do much as a score there in the fourth quarter, and I honestly would just chalk that up to he ran out of a little bit of steam there, so that's something for him to build towards, I think.
Well, to be fair, though, so he came in, I think it was about 10 minutes left in the fourth. I mean, you could probably look up exact numbers, and then they took him out to get a rest at I want to say it was like 6 or 5 minutes left, and then he came back with about 3 minutes left, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. Anyways, so he comes back in. He has that. He has the kick out to Sharp wide, or not to Grant wide open for the corner three, and then he actually passed the ball ahead. I forgot who it was who kicked it out to Grant in the exact same spot when he hit those back-to-back threes.
I believe it was Chris Murray.
Yeah, but so Sharp looked up and saw Chris Murray ahead, passed up to him, and then Murray kicked it out to the corner, so it was like a hockey assist. But like, I did feel like Sharp made some good plays with the ball, even if he wasn't scoring there in that stretch.
Yeah, no, he still made good plays. It's just the way he scores in isolation, like that takes energy. You know what I mean? More so than like, sitting on the rim, waiting and like timing up it's great defensive play, but like timing up and jumping and blocking a shot, that takes a little bit of energy. But like dealing with a physical point of attack defender, throwing a couple crossovers, like shaking him, accelerating full speed into the lane, like when you don't have enough energy, like I feel like that's the thing that goes first, especially for a guy like Sharp, where then he'll settle for the mid-range pull-up like he did against Postgame instead of getting all the way to the rim. And listen, like, I love that he made plays in the fourth quarter. This is not to diminish any of the plays he made. He made a bunch of terrific plays there in the fourth quarter. I would just like when he has a roll in for him to be able to, like, roll that as a scorer into the fourth quarter where he can keep killing them, because he was killing them. He was matching Steph. He was absolutely awesome in this game, and I think this isn't even necessarily like a criticism or anything. I think this is just something to build towards, where he's been limited. He's been on minutes restrictions. I wouldn't blame him if he still has, a little bit of work to do in terms of getting his stamina up to the point where he can have a big fourth quarter as a score in a game like this. So I didn't think his energy was bad or anything in the fourth quarter. I just think as a scorer, it's tough to maintain that throughout an entire game, and you have to be in absolutely great shape as an NBA athlete. So I think that's something, because he definitely did get gassed there after going on that barrage in the third quarter.
One important note, though, Golden State did switch their defense, and he was more of a focal point of that fourth quarter after he went off in the third, and I think that was the key in allowing Grant to be wide open and get going, because he had lesser defensive attention. So even if he wasn't super aggressive with the ball, I think just him breaking out a little bit that third quarter did allow Sharp or Grant and Denny to get going there at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. But also that's the thing, like when you have big games, defenses are going to adjust and try and take you away in the fourth quarter. So make the right play. He did that. But also it just takes even more energy to, when a defense is loading up on you even more, it takes even more energy to get your own. And I think, we talk about the most optimistic idea about Shaedon Sharp all the time, and that's somebody that can go get you 40, right? That's somebody that can have the first three quarters he did today and then continue to kill you, even if you adjust your defense, can continue to just make things happen as a scorer and a playmaker. So I think, this game was, I think, the best game of his career, because he did it as a scorer. He did have some huge defensive plays. He had some nice passes. He did different things today. That's what I ask for from him. And, hopefully going forward, as he continues to get in better shape, he can continue to sustain scoring nights like this, because he's streaky. Like we talk about all the time. He's Consistency isn't really something you think of with Shaden Sharp. He'll have some super hot games where he's making everything, and tonight was one of them. And you want to ride that as long as you can in a game like this, especially for a Blazers team that struggles to score the ball, especially in the half court. When Shaden Sharp's hot, I want him to be super aggressive, and I think there's a balance between that and picking your shots. I think shot selection wise, I was really happy with this game from him. So I don't know what you think about that, but I was really happy with the shots that he took in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he did take a lot of threes, but he was making them tonight, so I guess you can't really question it. But
we've seen it. He took 7. We've seen him go like 1 for 9, 1 for 10, and shoot even more than this.
Yeah,
when he doesn't have it going. Yeah.
And he missed his wide open one after he was hot in that third quarter, and he actually got a wide open 3, and that was his only miss during that stretch. That was crazy. But AJ asked how his arc looked tonight. I thought it looked noticeably better on a couple of them at least.
Where were you sitting?
300.
Oh yeah. I will say. This is going to sound like a flex, but I will say, being more court level, it didn't really look better to me.
There was one from the left side that it seemed like the ball went way higher than it normally does. I don't know. But I can't say the same for all the threes, but at least 2 of them, it looked like he did have a little bit better arc on it. But yeah.
I'm just flexing though, sitting 100 level.
Yeah.
Jokes aside, I don't know. I think when it goes in, the arc looks fine. When it doesn't, it looks flat. You know what I mean? It's kind of where I'm at with that. It always looks good when it goes in. Didn't really seem noticeably different, but radio guys commented on his arc being much higher. Yeah. I don't know. I have to go rewatch it. I just feel like when it's going in, it always looks better arc wise. We were talking about his arc seems a little better in preseason, and maybe he got away from that. But it's something that he needs to shoot the ball with more arc. So if that's the adjustment he made, and this is why he's shooting well the last couple of games, then he needs to keep doing what he's doing. He needs to keep shooting the ball with more arc because it's been way too flat.
Aaron said, "Did you notice that Chris's 3 that went in was a no diff one?" Man, he shot that so weird. His arm went up like this.
I was shocked that 3 went in.
Yeah. Yep.
But it was an important 3.
No, it was.
Shout out to Hailblazers.
This game was important.
yeah. Shout out to Hailblazers. Remember for 42 months says flexing on the Warriors fans 3-0 is so nice. It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful.
Man, we're 3-0 against them since they made that preseason post
yeah
about owning the Blazers even in the preseason or something.
Yeah, that was such a ridiculous post.
Yeah.
I think the rhythm on the shot looks better, smoother. Looks sometimes like the shot is so easy for him to get. He elevates and then pauses slightly and stares down at the rim and aims it. I mean, I don't know. I feel like, the timing with his set point and his release sometimes is a little late, which is going to hurt your arc. But I don't know. Now I'm just thinking about all the shots he took today. Basically, I'd have to rewatch it and notice the differences. But thank you, Hailblazers, for the member message. Anything else you want to add to Sharp?
No, just great game.
Jeremy Grant had clutch threes, clutch plays, had those back-to-back threes that had the stadium rocking. Also had what was a beautiful alley-oop to Rob Williams. That play was sick, man.
Man, the one in the first half was less of a goaltend than that one.
I know.
Why did they... I thought if they called it offensive goaltend, they could review it.
Yeah, I thought they could.
So I thought that's why you call it a goaltend, so you can look at it later.
Yeah.
Or is that only on defensive goaltend? I don't know, man.
I don't know either. Matt Cardell says Sharp mentioned post game that he was practicing his shot yesterday.
Oh, he was finally practicing. No.
Well, that's kind of
so funny.
my reaction. Like, he had all off season to improve his shot and improve his arc, and the results have been awful. He's been an awful 3-point shooter this year, right? But now it's like, oh, he got to shoot yesterday, and now it's like, oh, maybe his arc and it was improved, and he went 5 for 7 from 3. It's just like, okay, then what happened the entire offseason if it just take him one night to fix his arc? Was that something that was a point of emphasis this offseason for him to improve? And then he, tried to, and then he got away from it, and then yesterday he kind of locked in and dialed it back in? Or was it something that wasn't a point of emphasis until recently? Like, I don't know. But I think that's obviously the biggest issue with his shot was the arc.
I will say, though, like, anytime you tweak your shot, it is kind of natural when you get tired or, in his case, injuries. It is really hard to, like, tweak your shot to the point where you're just, like, locked in with it all season. This happens with so many shooters where it kind of reverts back at some point to your old form until you get it down. So as much as he can practice and have time to do that, but that should have been a focal point of all time. So I do kind of chuckle when I hear that as well.
Yeah. I think, like, if after an off season, if that's something he did work on and he couldn't lock it in, then I'm not expecting him to lock it in based on one day of shooting around. And I guess this is where we have to, have the age-old conversation of, like, is he turning the corner as a 3-point shooter? Or is this just like a little hot streak that he's on that doesn't continue? I'm not even going to give my thoughts on that. Like, I don't know. Maybe he is turning the corner. Maybe he is going to start dialing it in. But, like, it's not like arcs. When it comes to adjusting stuff with your jump shot, I feel like arc is one of the easier things.
Mm-hmm. Should be. You would think. So my point, though, is that even if he did work all off season on it, we know, at least from what we've been told, that it was locked in and training camp or whatever looked really good. So what I'm saying is it is very possible he did think that he fixed it in the off season, and then once he started actually applying it to games after a while, it just like kind of like it was hard to maintain. So it might be a case where he just has to keep teaching his muscles to shoot the new way, and that stuff takes time. So we'll see. But you do have to put in the work too, which I'm not saying anything about his work ethic or not, but I mean that it is something that you have to be extremely meticulous about to fix fully without having it revert back at all.
Yeah. I'm just going to say, maybe his shooting just correlates with mine, Eric. Maybe his shooting just correlates with mine, because I was in a slump all year. I tweaked my form on Thursday and proceeded to go 18 for 25 from 3 in a rec game and drop 84 points. All right. So I'll take the credit for Sharp having a hot shooting night, and I'll make sure I dial in those changes I made so that Sharp can start shooting with more arc, because that's obviously how it works, right? Used to work that way with me and Dame, where our shots correlated, and now it's Shaden Sharp's jump shot. So, I'll keep you guys posted, and we'll see if this correlation is a real thing. I just triggered somebody that's typing on Reddit right now, so that was my goal. Anyway.
Real quick, Rytex, you don't have to ask if you can ask a question. Just ask the question is what I meant, not saying you couldn't ask the question.
Matt Cardle says you can take credit for tonight if you take blame for all the other games. I'll take the blame for everything this season. Everything this season. I will accept that. But the 84 point thing is real. That was crazy. I'm obviously joking. Obviously, our charts don't freaking correlate, but I tweaked my form and then had my greatest shooting game ever. I tweaked it in warmups, so I don't know. Maybe that's what Sharp needed. Just a day shooter around to tweak his form so that he could get hot, But it is, to your point, Eric, it is hard to I kind of experience this when I play. I'll tweak my form and it will be like lights out for a game or two. And then I'll keep trying to shoot the same way, but it's not muscle memory yet. So then it'll start to feel weird, and then I'll be broke again, and then I'll tweak it again, or you know what I mean? It doesn't last.
You can't recapture how it felt.
Yeah.
In practice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I we'll see, but that's generally my experience. Is I can get super I'm crazy streaky when I play, but I can tweak something, it will work for a day or two, and then it completely goes away. But I also only play twice a week. He should be in the gym constantly. Whatever he's trying to lock in should be he should hopefully have the time to lock it in, especially right now. There's a lot of days off, so maybe that's a correlation between the days off that they have right now and him shooting the ball better.
Maybe.
But
one thing, while we're still on Sharp, so you mentioned how he gets tired and maybe has a tougher time scoring in the fourth. I did find myself being like, can we please run a pick and roll for him? I know we're trying not to run pick and rolls very much, but I was like, dude, just give him a screen or something to so he doesn't have to use up all that energy you mentioned, trying to score every time in ISO. Give him a screen and see if that could free him up.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's talk about Grant now. We talked a lot about Shaden. Shaden was great today. Shaden's my player of the game. Shaden is chat's player of the game with 65% of the vote. But Jeremy only got 14% of the vote. Jeremy deserved a lot of love for this game. Because he was terrific, and he had been struggling a little bit lately. It was nice to see him kind of break out of that and have a terrific game today.
Yeah, I mean, he was fantastic, especially in that fourth quarter. I forgot to take a picture of the point distribution at halftime, but it felt like he only had 12 or 14 at halftime or something like that. So big second half from him, big fourth quarter. His money from that corner three, just hit every big shot in this game and had that and one. Had that nice pass you mentioned. Yeah, I thought he was really good. And we had him guarding Curry for a lot of this game too, which might not have been super successful, but that does take a ton of energy as a forward to chase Curry around as well. So and it's not his fault that he got that defensive assignment. But yeah, shout out to Jeremy for really having a great game and shooting the lights out.
Clutch threes, made the open corner threes. How many guys do we cringe when they shoot open corner threes and almost airball? It's nice to have somebody on this team that can make an open corner three.
Yeah, I think, man, I don't know how you leave him that wide open twice in a row if you're Golden State, but I really think just the fact that Sharp went off, I do feel like they kind of lost Grant there in that second half, and that allowed him to really go get going, because I felt like in the first half they had better defenders like Jimmy and Draymond on him for a bit of the time, and it was a little tougher for him to score. Yeah.
I just like that he finds the corner in transition. He runs to the corner in transition when the ball's opposite. It's really hard for the defense to run back in transition, worry about the ball on one side of the court, worry about a drive baseline, and then get out on that corner shooter weak side on that kick-out pass. So he did a good job at getting to that spot there and a couple of times there in the second half.
And, man, what a mistake by Golden State in some of those lineups, leaving him open instead of Sissoko or Chris Murray, right?
Yeah, and then they Steph was guarding him for a period of time, and that's why I love that lob to Rob Will, because he posts up Steph and Draymond comes over to double, and you don't have the best shooters out there, so it's you don't have necessarily great options for 3-point shooters, but Rob Will just kind of parks under the rim and the help doesn't get there, and the way he redirected that pass was sick. But that was a great pass from Jeremy to recognize that. And, he only had 2 assists today, but that was an impressive assist. So shout out to him. He had a really good game. And then I noticed Draymond, 8 turnovers. 14, 8, 7, and 8. Pretty wild.
And probably should have gotten a second tech at some point.
Dude.
That one.
So the one he was mad about was obviously not a foul. And Eric, the one he got teed up on, he airmailed a layup that went right to his teammate and it was a putback.
Yeah.
It's dude, you scored on the
anyway.
play. It wasn't even a foul. You just tried to throw yourself in flail into the defender's body, and then you're going to get teed up on that. I thought that was just kind of dumb. I thought that was kind of ridiculous. And then, didn't Draymond have already 14 points at half? Yeah, the Blazers, didn't respect him at all in the first half, and he got some buckets where it's yeah, all right, that's the guy that, they're maybe their 5th option in the starting 5, not really a scorer, more of a distributor, but you can't give him open 6-foot floaters and completely wide open threes. I guess you can. That's what they did, but he did have a good first half score on the ball.
Man, I saw some Twitter conversation you had during the game with someone about Clingan
giving up
defense
threes.
being horrible because he gives up all these threes.
Yeah. And
I just, man, for anyone who thinks that, first of all, okay, I'm not trying to disrespect your observations or anything, but it is absolutely crystal clear, if you know or have any idea what you're watching, the Blazers do not want him going out very often if he does not have to. They only want him going out to the perimeter if he has to. A couple times in the first half, he got switched on to Curry and had to stay out on him. And Curry didn't really burn him anytime. When is has Clingan ever gotten just blown by on the perimeter guarding
Not
a guard?
really. Sometimes he'll give up a 3 when he switched out on a guy, and it's dude, just guard him a little closer because, dude, he blocked a Steph 3 today. He defended a Steph 3 better than anybody else defended a Steph 3 today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also had that block on Steph in the paint. There's sometimes where it's dude, you can actually move well enough to be a little bit closer where guys can't shoot, and he can still cover ground well enough with his length to not get beat at the rim. There's a couple there. He did get blown by today by Steph on a play, but I don't know. I feel like that stuff is so overblown, but also the scheme is drop. They play.
Yeah.
He's supposed to give up a bunch of space. He's supposed to try and contest a mid-range shot and protect the rim. He's not supposed to be out at the 3-point line. That is always on the guy who doesn't get through the screen. And listen, sometimes against Steph, you have to switch up your coverage because sometimes it's impossible to get through a screen on him. And then you can criticize the coverage, but you don't criticize Clingan if they're playing a deep drop for giving up threes because that's literally what deep drop is designed to do.
Yeah, and so, right or wrong, Draymond, hit a couple, but that was the Blazers' game plan.
Yeah.
That was we're not going to let Steph beat us off a Draymond Curry screen. We are going to sell out to stop that, and we're not going to let him drive either. And we're going to live with Draymond shooting an open 3. So if you say, "Oh, Clingan sucks, he gives up open threes," I'm sorry, you don't know what you're watching. That is, the Blazers are trying to force Draymond Green to shoot those because they would rather have that than have Steph Curry shoot, hit 12 threes and score 48 points. So, so
essentially you're criticizing Clingan for executing the game plan that was given to him.
Right.
He's too coachable, Eric.
Now, we can have this discussion on whether that's the right game plan against certain teams. That is absolutely fair, and we'll talk about that for hours, right? If you want us to. But it drives me crazy. It's because Tori, the difference in the paint this game versus last game, just having Clingan out there was you can't get much extreme one way to the other. Yeah. How many fast break or how many points in the paint did they finish with in this game? I know they might have gotten a little bit in the fourth quarter when Clingan wasn't in, but I think at halftime they only had 14 points in the paint or something like that. It was crazy. And that's like such a freaking huge difference. They had 16 at halftime.
Yeah.
Okay. We gave 88 last game.
Yeah.
And so that was crazy, man. Anyways, it's just frustrating to me that like you can see a game where Clingan absolutely shuts down the paint and completely stops the team from getting anything in the paint, and then we're just going to be like, oh well, the other team got some open threes when he's in there, so Clingan sucks at guarding threes. Like, that's not what happened in this game.
Tori, you said I was crazy when I said Clingan would get 25 to 28 minutes a game. He has 25 minutes per game. I never said you were crazy for saying he would get 25 to 28 minutes per game, unless I'm completely misremembering, but that makes no sense. What I would call people crazy for was saying that he is incapable of having a game where he plays more than 30 minutes. So people will come here. He cannot play more than 30 minutes in a game, and that's crazy. He's done it multiple times before. And then the revisionist history is like, you said I was crazy for saying that he would average less than 30 minutes per game. That's two completely different conversations, my guy. That's two completely different conversations. And see, the guy says, sorry, you said I was stupid for thinking he can't play more. Yeah, I think it's stupid to sit here for a guy that's had games where he's played more than 30 minutes and had great games where he played more than 30 minutes and sit here and say he can't play more than 30 minutes in a game. There's a difference between saying he can't play more than 30 minutes in a game and, oh, he won't play 30 minutes per game. That's completely different statements. So that's the problem when I argue with Chad, is people completely miscontextualize things. I don't believe I ever predicted that he would play 30 plus minutes per game. I said he's capable of playing 30 minutes in a game. And he's had multiple games where he's played well in 30 minutes. So please understand the difference between those two statements.
Also, there is a big difference between being incapable of playing more than 25 minutes and the coach is playing you 25 minutes, or the flow of the game dictating that you only play 25 minutes.
Yep.
I don't think, outside of obviously he's been hobbling up the court the last couple weeks, like he has been laboring a little bit, but that's due to injury, not stamina. He came into the season in phenomenal looking shape. He obviously put in some work on his endurance and stamina and his body this offseason. And I don't think there's been, outside of, like I said, when he's been hurt, I don't think there's anything that says that he's incapable of playing more than the 25.1 minutes he's been playing this year.
Yeah.
In fact, I found myself at times being like, can you please put Clingan back in? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. But yeah, it just drives me crazy when like people like recontextualize statements or like change the context of an argument. It's quite annoying, actually. It happens all the time. One second. So yeah, I mean, listen, go and bring me the clip that you're talking about, since it's living in your head. Person in chat, please bring me the clip, since obviously that was a big deal to you. You should be able to fetch it for me. So post in the Discord. Listen, if I was wrong, but so many times people come in here and completely change the context behind debates to make it completely different than what was actually said. So it gets quite annoying, actually. So yeah, go and send me the link, Twitter, Discord, like. But also, maybe you misunderstood what I was saying. I think it's he's definitely capable of playing over 30 minutes in a game. I think he's capable of playing 30 minutes per game. I think, as Eric said, he's played 25 minutes a game. Those extra 5 minutes a game aren't going to completely kill him. And he's been banged up anyway. He came into the season in better shape. So, yeah. Since we're on Clingan, what'd you think of him tonight, though? Like, beyond what we kind of already discussed, if you have any other thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was pretty good defensively. Offensively, they finally threw that past him in the short roll, and Tamani actually cuts down the baseline, and Clingan had a beautiful lob pass to him for a dunk. That play was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see more of that. I do feel like we could utilize him in that high post area to be kind of a hub a little bit. And I saw Rytek's, so since we're talking about Clingan, he's frustrated with him that he's 7-2 playing against a shorter Golden State team and isn't able to score in the paint at all. Some people are just not scorers, and you can't force them to be scorers. I mean, he averages 10 points a game, only has 3 tonight. He's not the type of person who's you're going to be able to like completely exploit another team just because of his size. But I mean, he didn't really have a lot in the second half, but I thought in the first half he had a couple of nice offensive rebounds, and I don't know. I think that's just kind of his role, just screening. And
here's the issue I have with it is like, it's his first game back off of injury. Last time he played this team, he had 22. So, and he's not somebody that like dictates the offense, right? He's like an opportunistic scorer. He's a big man rim protector type. He's not somebody that's like, oh, he's handling the ball all the time, but he's not trying to score, or he's not doing anything, or he's turning over. No, it's like stuff will come to him in the flow, and that's the type of scorer he is. He's not somebody that you're gonna throw it in and like post him up all the time. And I mean, Quentin Post is a 7-footer. So that was his opposing starting center. Quentin Post is legitimately a 7-footer. Also, they got guys that will double and rotate and that sort of stuff if he's in low post. So I don't really agree with just looking, oh, he only scored 3 points, like he needs to be more of a scorer. No, like he just needs to convert the opportunities that come his way. And if they don't come his way, that's fine. You got other guys to do stuff. And they had 136 points today. You don't need to force feed him low post touches when you got Sharp cooking, you got Grant cooking, you got Avdija cooking. So, yeah, I have no critiques there for him tonight.
Yeah, me either. And they didn't start Draymond at center. They started Quentin Post.
Yeah, you can see the starting lineup on the left graphic. The top 5 guys are starters. The bottom 2 guys beneath the little white line are the top 2 players off the bench.
And yes, they did flip it. Denny was guarding Post, and because he's mostly a stretch shooter.
Yep.
And Clingan was on Draymond, because they wanted him to shoot. Like I said, so
exactly.
That was their game plan. But yeah, I mean, obviously it would be nice if Clingan was able to maybe when he's open from 15 feet, hit that little jumper. Obviously,
it's not even a part of our offense for guys that are better mid-range shooters.
But I'd just like to say, can we stop with when we score 136 points, right? We have multiple guys score 35. We have someone score 26. Rob Will has 11 off the bench. Like, at what point in this game was the problem, oh, we need more scoring from Clingan? Like, that shouldn't have crossed anyone's mind watching this game. It should have been, wow, let's get better shots like we're getting when we use Clingan in the high post and setting screens and stuff like that. I don't get like being this hyper focused on, oh, this guy needs to average this many points, or this guy should score this many points against this lineup or whatever. Our offense was not the problem in this game and would not have been the reason why we lost if Golden State pulled this out.
Yeah, 1,000%. Cannot word it better myself. Denny Avdija today, 26 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds. Trevin, if you're in chat, calculate the true shooting percentage for me because I'm curious. Because also, Trevin, you made a joke, if only Denny showed up today, so I want you to be the one to calculate it. I think you were being sarcastic, like you always love to be. Had that clutch and one. 6 for 16 from the field. but got to line 13 times and had 12 free throws. Like, played downhill, attacked, got fouled. There's a couple plays that maybe he could have gotten a foul call on that he didn't. Like, he ended up on the floor a lot in this game. He had 8 assists. Like, dude, watching this dude is just like, man, he collapses the entire defense, play after play after play after play. Doesn't have the best shooters to kick out to. Finishes games with 26 points, 8 assists, gets to the line a tons, the most efficient offense, push pressure on the defense. Like, this was a really good game from him. And I feel like we're getting to the point where Denny's been so good that we're starting to, like, by we're, I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about, like, people in this fan base are starting to try and find things to, like, nitpick a little bit. Because how do you have a dude that's 26, 8, and 7 tonight, was huge, came up with a clutch bucket, had a true shooting percentage of 59.85%, so 59.9% true shooting percentage, so efficiency was completely fine, but he was 6 for 16 from the field, I saw a couple people kind of talking about, basically acting like he didn't have a good game. This is a great game, man. Is the bar really that high? Denny has an efficient 26, 8, and 7 game, and it's not a good game anymore? Like, has he risen the bar that much? I don't know. And, he had other teammates that were great in Grant and Sharp that scored the ball even better, but Denny was the engine that made it ran tonight. He's been the point guard, essentially. He had 8 assists. He consistently collapses this defense. 4 turnovers. There's a couple plays he was a little sloppy, but like I've said before, when he's driving into multiple defenders all the time and doesn't have the best spacing, sometimes it's going to be a little tough, or he's going to have to try to force some stuff. So I thought this was a really, really good Denny game.
Yeah, I thought Denny was pretty good too. I think he had 12, 6, and 5 at halftime. So not a lot of rebounding or assists in the second half, but yeah, like I thought he did just enough to what he had to do. And I thought, much like I was talking about Sharp once he got going, I felt like the whole game they had a second body waiting for him on drives. And you mentioned this before I got on, but I mean, he did miss a couple that he probably would normally hit. And but no, I thought overall, despite not the greatest shooting night, I thought he was just really good tonight. Again, yeah, I had no problems with Denny tonight.
Yep, no problems with Denny. Somehow 12, 6, and 5 is now horrible.
I don't know if he misunderstood me. I wasn't saying it was horrible. I'm just saying, like, he didn't have many rebounds or assists in the second half because he had most of those in the first half. But like, but that's because Sharp gets it going, Grant gets it going. That's good when you don't have to rely on one person to score it all.
Yep. Camara 7, 3, and 3, 25 minutes, got in foul trouble. Thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was okay. Hit an early 3 in the first half. Didn't really do much outside of that cut late that I talked about off the Clingan lob. He was good at times on defense in this game. Had a couple of big plays once again down the stretch. Felt like he gambled a little too much at other points in the game. But obviously, I still don't think we should be saying in some of these games, we need more from Camara, because I do feel like he's still kind of underperforming.
Yeah, I mean, the shot wasn't really there tonight. The defense was inconsistent. I like that he came up with a clutch defensive play. He's made a couple of those. Of course, he also had the worst clutch defensive play of the season against Vucevic, where he just completely left him. So it's been a mixed bag defensively, but nice to see him have a big stop there, forcing the turnover against Steph. I just don't know if he, like... There's no reason why he can't get back to the defensive player he was last year. Maybe that was unsustainable, but I think a lot of it's just making sure to be fundamental. Like, you look at OKC, and they'll gamble, they'll be physical, but they know how to, like, be fundamental as well, and if they're like they don't get caught out of position a lot when they gamble. You know, they take the right gambles and they know when to play physical. They, you know, figure out the way the refs are calling the game so then they can be physical without getting called for fouls and like kind of push it up to that line without crossing it. Because refs will call games differently, and that's something Tamani has to learn because there's just too many games where he's in foul trouble, where he's too physical, doesn't figure out the way the game's being reffed, and doesn't adjust, out of position a little too much when he does gamble. Like just learning how to be more fundamental while playing that, while playing passing lanes, while trying to generate defensive plays, steals, blocks, etc., knowing when to go for those plays and when not to, knowing how to be physical without crossing that line, figuring out the way the game's being reffed. I think that's the important things for him to kind of key in on here so he can just be more consistently elite defensively because he has the tools and he has the ability. I just think he's gotten a little bit too outside of himself as a defender lately, where he just needs to be a little bit more fundamental.
Adding to that too, he's been in foul trouble a lot recently, and I feel like he's not adjusting when he gets into foul trouble. Like he's still overplaying and being too aggressive. And there was a point where he got his fourth foul, and it looked for a minute like Thiago wasn't going to take him out. And then there was like I don't know. There was someone arguing or something, and it took a little longer, and then he brought someone in. But I had that thought for a moment, like, you cannot leave him in here. He's not going to adjust, and he's going to get his fifth foul. And this is like early in the third quarter.
Yeah.
And like, we cannot take that risk that he's going to play on the court without fouling right now. And luckily they did take him out, so he was available in the fourth. But then he comes right back in, and I think there was, 10 minutes left, and he picked up his fifth foul or something like that. I want to say it was shortly after he came back in the game in the fourth. I don't think he's doing the greatest job of trying to avoid fouling when he's in foul trouble, and that is a skill. Draymond got 2 early fouls, and Kerr left him in, didn't pick up his third until the second half, I think. So
yeah,
you have to learn, that's part of being a good defender, is when to apply pressure and when you need to back off, because we cannot keep having our best defender being in foul trouble every game. It's going to come back to bite us eventually.
Yeah, and we need our best defender to be our best defender most nights. So it just needs to be smarter defensively. That's pretty much it. And then the final starter. Oh no, we talked about Clingan. All right, so bench squad. Caleb Love, for whatever reason, really likes playing against the Golden State Warriors because he came in and knocked down 2 threes and had 4 assists as well with only 1 turnover. Like made a couple nice feeds in this game. So was one of his best games of the season because he has a lot of stinkers. And of course, he had that 26-point game against Golden State that won the game, almost a month ago. And then today he was actually pretty solid off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, how many shots did he end up taking?
Let me pull the box score back up. So he was 3 for 6 from the field, 2 for 2 from 3.
And how many minutes did he play? 12?
In 12 minutes.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's good. That's right around his average, right? A half a shot.
Yeah, but like when he's efficient, that's great. It's.
Yeah, I didn't think it was too bad today. Hit a couple threes I think they were both in the first half, right?
Yeah. We're talking about a 25% 3-point shooter that was 2 for 2 from 3,
Yeah. So yeah, I was sitting by someone who really loves himself some Caleb Love. Someone behind me.
That's the dude that's arguing with me on Twitter that he's better than Scoot.
And then but yeah, I mean, I have no problem. As we'll talk about with a lot of these guys, you're on a two-way for a reason. You're getting an opportunity that you probably haven't even earned yet. Like, don't come in and screw up and act like you're Kobe Bryant out there or something. Like, come in and do your job, play hard defense, set up the offense if you're Caleb Love as a point guard, because we don't have many true point guards right now, and just don't shoot us out of a game as a freaking two-way guy playing 12 minutes. And I thought he did a good job of that tonight on both ends.
Yep. Shout out to Caleb. And then Rob Will has his first triple double not triple double. First double.
You said triple double earlier too. I was laughing.
Oh, first double double as a Blazer. First
Yeah.
double as a Blazer.
I was like, did I miss him have a bunch of blocks or something?
Yeah, 10 blocks. I wish that would be cool, but yeah, first double because they said the last time was March of 2023. So, he got traded in the summer of 2023 year. So it's year 3 as a Blazer, and he finally has a double-double, which is kind of crazy.
Yep. But it doesn't have a ton of games played. I think he's still under, 50 games played?
And the Blazers, don't want to play him more than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So.
But no, I thought he provided some really good minutes in this game. Made a little jump shot off a nice pass on the baseline. I think that was Tamani passed to him. He's very active around the hoop. Had some good finishes. Rebounded the ball well. Had some good passes as well. Did turn the ball over a few times. You don't really like to see that out of someone who barely touches the ball. But overall, I thought this was one of his better games as a Blazer, obviously.
Yeah, I think whoa, my voice is kind of weird there. I think some of the turnovers were a little rough, but outside of that, because he finished with 3 turnovers. But his energy was really nice to have on the floor today. They definitely missed it against the Pelicans. And then Arrow really wants us to talk about City Sissoko. So he has 6 points in 28 minutes, but he's a plus 16 tonight. I'll say this, man. The numbers aren't super impressive, but they're better than some other guys. He was shooting 34% from 3 before this game, and he goes 2 for 5.
He's been a little bit better lately.
It's
upped his percentage, yeah.
He's been a legitimate shooter lately. It's still wide open shots, but the one he had, I forget who had it. Somebody had a dime, and then the ball ended up in his hands, and he hit a 3, and he was celebrating with the bench. That was a pretty big momentum play, and he's shooting it confidently. I'll give him that. So he's made a 3 in 7 games in a row. He was 1 for 4, 1 for 4, 1 for 2, 2 for 3, 2 for 5, 3 for 6, 2 for 5. Of course, this hot streak kind of started with his big game against Golden State, where he's 3 for 7 from 3. He's made a 3 in 10 out of 11 games since then. And on the season after today, he's 35%. We're asking a bunch of other guys to shoot an average 3 ball, and I feel like he's quietly been very solid as a 3-point shooter. It's really nice to have off the bench somebody that can just come in and make a couple of threes, and he's started a lot of these games that I'm talking about, but past couple of games he's come in and knocked down threes. He was 3 for 6 against New Orleans, so hopefully the shooting is legit. He's been knocking down threes. He's been giving them some solid minutes for a 2-way guy. So I've been pretty happy with his play as of late.
Yeah, my mom calls him Cisco. She can't say Sissoko.
Cisco.
Kept correcting her tonight. Anyways, yeah, so he comes in, he hits that 3 off a kick out, and then I felt like he took 2 bad ones after that with the guy in his face. I'm like, dude, come on. Just stick to shooting the open ones. But then the rest of the game he was pretty good in that regard. Didn't take any bad ones after that. And then yeah, I mean, I don't know what Butler was doing. He just flat out shoved him twice. So he did draw a couple offensive fouls, but I don't think necessarily those were super great heads up plays by him or anything, but it is, I mean, anytime you can kind of play up the contact and get but Butler was just, man, he didn't even argue. He just shoved someone 3 times in this game. It seemed like it was wow.
They all felt like they were kind of losing their heads, which is really weird because this is maybe the oldest team in the league, most veteran team in the league, but Jimmy and Draymond, it was very strange.
Well, we know Draymond's like that normally, but I think the pressure of this is like an older team that's not playing Kaminga at all. They've really abandoned their second part. I know Moody played a bunch, but Kaminga was supposed to be their bridge to the next version of this team.
Was he
and
healthy today? Did they just DNP
Yeah, he was
coach's
just a
decision?
DNP.
That's
Yep,
crazy.
Yep. And so, uh, man, I think now that they're 500 going into this game, now they're a game below 500. I think the pressure is starting to mount on them, and you can see them kind of unraveling a little bit. I mean, Curry's not. He was awesome tonight, but like I think some of those role players who haven't been playing as well as they should have, and outside of getting to the foul line a ton, Butler's not really doing much or isn't as effective as he was in previous years on either end.
Yeah, he seems I don't want to use the word washed because he's still having some good performances, but he just doesn't seem, I don't know. He just seems like a step slower. He doesn't seem to be able to kind of impact the game with the ball in his hands in the same way. And part of me just feels like, oh, that's kind of his role. He's not the number one guy anymore. He's playing off of Steph and playing in more of a motion offense, so that's how it should look. But it's just kind of weird to see him in the role they use him in.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, to Matt Cardell's point, he only tries during the playoffs. Yeah, true.
Yeah, maybe. And to be fair, I know they've played the last couple games, but Curry and Draymond too, they've been in and out of the lineups with injuries the last couple weeks. So, maybe something's bothering him.
Yeah, possibly.
But if you can avoid like fouling Butler, he's like really not really effective anymore.
Yeah.
He's really only good when he's getting the line a ton, which I mean, he gets the line a few times today, but
yeah, this team's kind of interesting, man. It's they just look really bad to us because we just beat them 3 times already this season. So, they're not quite that bad against other teams. They're 13-11. So, but they're a team that I think is catchable in the West. They're a team that I hope the Blazers can pass in the West this year. Then they have a tiebreaker, so they have a great opportunity to. Last player. I don't really want to talk about Rupert. He didn't really do anything. Chris Murray. What were your thoughts on Chris Murray today? Because I feel like I was kind of looking for him to play bad defense after all the mistakes I saw against the Pelicans when I watched back on film. And there was a couple of mistakes. Hit a nice 3 there in the second half. Good to see. What were your thoughts on his performance today?
I mean, he's not just... It was all right. He had some okay moments. He had some rough moments. The usual Chris Murray experience.
I will say I kind of lost my mind when, after watching last game, he comes in 2.5 seconds on the shot clock, and within 2 seconds, airballs a layup. Like, it only took him 2 seconds to airball a layup. It was, yeah, I don't know. He was okay, and it helped that he made a 3, but at this point, I feel like the coaching staff likes Sissoko more, and I like Sissoko more. He's a better shooter, and there's really nothing that Chris Murray does that Sissoko can't do.
Yeah, I think he's kind of separated there. The only problem is we got Sissoko on a 2-way. His games played is starting to add up. Can only play 50 games unless we make some roster moves. That's why I almost feel like the Blazers are going to have to do something at the trade deadline to free up a roster spot, especially if Sissoko keeps playing. But why wouldn't you just try to package all these guys who aren't really playing that well, move Sissoko up, get whoever you get back in the trade also, and then find a roster spot for him so we don't have that problem.
Yeah, consolidation trade makes a ton of sense. I just I don't know what to expect out of this deadline. The thing is, it feels like every time I expect anything, they don't do anything at all. So maybe I should expect them to do absolutely nothing. But like if they do something, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like there's a trade deadline where I guessed correctly that they were going to trade Gary Trent Jr. and Rodney Hood for Norman Powell. Um, there's a trade deadline, I guess correctly, that Kevin Knox was going to become a Blazer, although that was more in real time, like right before it happened. I don't know what to expect out of this year's trade deadline. I know we got a question earlier about it. I do think a consolidation trade with some of these weaker pieces in order to move Sissoko up and hopefully improve the rotation makes sense. It's just like, what spot should they look to improve at? You know, is it you trade Robert Williams to a contending team that wants the upside of having him off the bench if he's healthy but doesn't have to rely on him, and then you try and replace the backup center spot because you'd have to replace that spot. At that point, does it make sense to just kind of like shuffle that chair? The backup center spot, like send him out and bring somebody else in. I will say if there's anybody that's available for that backup center spot that I'd really want the Blazers to go out and get, it's Day'Ron Sharpe. That's like my ideal backup center target. I think he's more talented than people realize. That's kind of an under the radar guy that I would like to see the Blazers go out and get. And he had a pretty good game today for Brooklyn. They blew out the Bucks. We will go around the NBA in a second. Outside of that, it's like, all right, is it the backup wing spot? It's kind of tough because who knows what this team looks like fully healthy, or at least like with Scoot and Thibault and those pieces. So I don't know. This is why I haven't really talked trade a lot outside of like if Giannis is available, go after him. But chat, you can give me your expectations. Do you have any thoughts to add to my thoughts, which are basically nothing?
Just in terms of like trade.
Yeah, just like approach to the trade deadline because it feels like they could shuffle a couple spots, but it's like I think injuries might dictate it. I don't really know if they're going to be big game hunting or what big game's going to be available, but it feels like they're getting closer to being to the point where that's the type of trade that makes sense. So yeah. I really do expect an activity, but if they do something, I wouldn't really even know what to guess at.
What Day'Ron's also a guy that I kind of have liked in the past. I want to say they sign him to like a weird contract. Does he have
I forget what it is.
He's a 2-year, $12 million. See, so he's one of those guys. I'll also include my default Keon Ellis, who's making like $2.2 million or something this year.
Yeah.
Just guys like that is what I'm talking about when I'm saying like you can trade like a Chris Murray or a Ryan Repair or Repair Reith and Chris and multiple second rounders or something and maybe get a Day'Ron Sharpe or something. And if you do that, you kind of weed out some of your guys who are proving they're not necessarily capable of being a rotation player on a good team. And you also bring in a guy who could potentially be a part of that rotation. And if not, you didn't really give up much to get him. And you also kind of tweak your roster situation a little bit to where you can add a CD Sissoko to the actual roster. You can get someone, bring in a free agent or call someone up like a Dylan Jones from the G League and use your roster a little differently.
Yeah. The tough thing is they are right up against the tax. Like I've seen people say cut, repair, and sign, somebody, but that would put them into the tax at this point in the year. That changes as it gets prorated. It actually might be around the day where like the prorated contract actually is in the Blazers' favor in that regard. But
tomorrow's December 15th when most of the players from the offseason could start to be traded as well.
Yeah, I do want to have a quick little like Giannis update conversation.
But before you do that, so I looked up Day'Ron Sharpe's contract. He signed a 2-year, $12.5 million contract, which is a steal. And the second year is a club option And he also waived his no trade clause when he signed the thing. So
great contract.
Great contract team wise, bad contract for him. But so yeah, he doesn't have the veto power that would normally come with that contract.
But that's the guy to go get if you want a backup center outside of Robert Williams. It might make sense to try and cash in on Robert Williams. I don't know what a team would give up, and then like buy low on him. But would I expect the Blazers to effectively do that? Probably not. Probably not. But that's like one of my guys, like under the radar guys.
Well, they also, before the trade deadline, you got to kind of figure out what you're doing with Rob Will and Thibault next year.
Yeah.
If those guys aren't in your plans to re-sign next year, even if you have to kind of overpay for him or you know, like the contract where we matched with Thibault, if we're gonna give him a similar contract or whatever, then I guess you keep him around. But to me, the way they've kind of danced around their tax situation, I could definitely see them letting those guys walk at the end of the year too, just to free up money. So they're not close to that tax situation. If that's the case, you might as well take a chance on someone like a Day'Ron Sharpe, who, if you want to go the same route and cut him if he's not good for you, you have that club option. So that is kind of a perfect player, I think, because it kind of fits both plans, whether you decide to keep him and it's pretty good value or not. So you got to decide what you're doing with Rob Will, I think, most importantly, if you're going to trade for a backup center. And if you're not going to keep him next year, you definitely have to address that sooner rather than later, because I do not think Young Hansen is going to be ready to have that role on a playoff team next year.
Yeah, this is the thing. This is the issue with their past draft is... I accidentally unplugged my mic a little bit. Hopefully it still sounds all right. This is the issue with the past draft. You got a guy that's like upside, but when is he going to progress to the point where the team feels comfortable in playing him? And is he going to progress to the point where they feel comfortable with playing him if he doesn't get NBA developmental minutes? And the Blazers aren't in a tanking position. Like, this is kind of the problem, especially when you have Clingan in front of him too. It's going to take, I think, a decent amount from Young to earn his way into the rotation. At some point, he has to get a chance, right? But if, like, the front office turns over and you got a completely different regime, like, do they still have the same plan for Young Hansen? I mean, what even is the plan for Young Hansen? I don't know. That pick is baffling to me, right? I don't think you can go into next year like, yeah, Young Hansen's going to be our backup center, and we're cool with that. Like, he's going to produce. Because he looks just so far away right now. He'd have to take a massive leap to be the backup center next year and feel comfortable with that. And you would need like a contingency play on another guy, like a Day'Ron Sharpe, who's cheap. And if, you know, Young Hansen's as good as him, then you want to play Young Hansen instead, cool, fine. But the thing is with Rob Will, with how often he's injured, it puts you in a tough spot if he does get injured and Young Hansen isn't ready. It would be a lot easier for Portland to operate moving forward, having a rotation spot filled, whether it's whether it was like you drafted Danny Wolf or Derek Quaid and they're your center with Clingan next year and you feel good about that, or if it was a wing and you have Cedric Coward off the bench and you have that solidified. Like, it would be easier to operate moving forward if Portland hit on a guy that they felt good about being a part of the rotation of this past year's draft. I don't see how you can feel that way about Young Hansen, unfortunately, going into next year. Hopefully he takes a leap that completely changes that, but I would not expect that. So what's the Blazers' plan at that spot? Because it's an important spot. You know, Clingan's been banged up kind of all throughout his college and NBA career. Like, he's somebody that's prone to missing a little bit of time. Rob Williams, of course. Like, I would rather have somebody that's a little bit more reliable from a health standpoint, so you don't have games like the last game against the Pelicans where you have no centers, you know? And it's like, man, I even wish we had Young Hansen in this game because we have literally no big men. I don't know. But we'll, of course, have more to say about this conversation as we get closer to the trade deadline.
Also, it might be different with Rob if you could get him for cheap next year.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're gonna take that risk because you might end up losing him for nothing, or you have to pay him. What, like if they pay him 15 million a year, are we gonna be comfortable with that as like the going rate, and then have him miss a bunch of games? Like I don't know if that can be your plan moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Anyway, let's go around the NBA. I probably need to update this this graphic. Yes, I do. Man, look how long it's been since we've used this graphic. Although the Blazers never beat the Heat, so I don't even know what this is from. We had 8 games across the NBA today. The Wizards get their 4th win of the season as they beat the Pacers 108-89. You know who's quietly having a good year? Is Marvin Bagley's had some solid minutes for the Wizards. He had 23 points, 14 rebounds, 9 for 14 from the field for the former number 2 overall pick. Trey Johnson, 14 off the bench. And then for the Pacers, man, what a depressing year to go from so close to winning a championship to now 6-20. They had 15 from Benedict Mathurin. I thought this group of Pacers would play better than this, though. They still have Siakam. They had Andrew Nembhard. They did start Oregon State legend Ethan Thompson in this game. But, like, they've been a little bit banged up. But, like, you're going against the Wizards. You still have Siakam. You still have Nembhard. You still have Mathurin. You have TJ McConnell off the bench. I don't even remember when they picked up Garrison Matthews. He played 19 minutes off the bench. But, like, you still have some veteran pieces that were part of that championship run. It's kind of surprising to me to see the way that they're struggling.
Yeah, I agree. I thought they were gonna not necessarily just play hard, but I thought, just some of their guys they had. Nembhard had a terrible game today, but I don't know. I thought some of those guys would step up in their absence.
Yeah. Feel bad for Pacers fans to come that close and then have a completely lost season right after. Pretty rough. But you know what? I hope the Blazers get that close someday. The Hornets beat the Cavs. So another lowly team gets a win here. The Cavs are kind of struggling this season. The Hornets, led by Con Knipple, who right now is the Rookie of the Year. 29 points, 4 boards, 3 assists. It's funny how I joked about, like, oh, man, we're just going to get a role player like Knipple half the year last year. And now he looks like he's going to be a legit star, potentially. Man, he would be perfect for us. Man, imagine if we had Con Knipple.
Yep.
He was great for them. 25 from Brandon Miller.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. The Hornets' next steps for me, I think, are very clear. It's trade LaMelo for what you can get. If you can get anything from Miles Bridges, trade him as well. And your core is Brandon Miller and Con Knipple. That's your core. Get a top pick in this draft. If you add, like, Darren Peterson fits with them. If you got Peterson, Knipple, Brandon Miller. All right? And I think Peterson will end up being better than LaMelo is and a better leader, right? If you end up with DeBonsa and you got Knipple, Miller, DeBonsa at 2 through 4, Cam Boozer, like, if you can get a top 3 pick and add to that duo, I really, really like that more than whatever they've had going on with the LaMelo and Miles Bridges combination. I think that's the step in the right direction for the Hornets. But do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I felt like that should have been the plan last offseason.
Yep. But at least they hit on the Knipple pick. They got a win today in overtime against the Cavs, who were without Evan Mobley, but still had Mitchell, Garland, DeAndre Hunter, Jared Allen. They had 26 from Garland in the loss. The Hawks beat the Sixers 120-117. Somebody turned back the clock tonight, Eric. Paul George turned back the clock tonight. He had 35 points, 11 for 21 from the field, 7 for 10 from 3, but it was in a loss. In a loss for the Sixers, who had Embiid, had Edgecombe, had Grimes. No Tyrese Maxey in this game, but they lose to the Hawks, who were led by another triple-double from Jalen Johnson. He has 4 triple-doubles in a row. He's been an all-star this year. And then Dyson Daniels had 27 for them today with 10 boards. As those two teams battle for play-in positioning right now. We'll take a look at the standings. Actually, I have a graphic for that today. The Kings, the Blazers' next opponent, they lose by 14 on the road in Minnesota to fall to 6-20 on the season. The Timberwolves led by 24 from Julius Randle. The Timberwolves didn't have Anthony Edwards today. They started DiVincenzo, Bones, Highland, McDaniels, Randle, and Gobert, and made easy work of the Kings. They did pull away late, outscoring the Kings by 10 in the fourth quarter. Bones Highland, to his credit, had 18 points, 5 assists. For the Kings, they were led by DeRozan's 17 points, and then 17 from Precious, 17 for Dennis Schroeder off the bench. The Pelicans, you know what's funny is the Blazers set the Magic straight when they gave up that Desmond Bane buzzer beater. Did they set the Pelicans straight? Because the Pelicans get another win after beating the Blazers.
Maybe.
Although they were playing the Bulls, who suck. After the Bulls started hot, that was obviously fluky. 114-104 win for the Pelicans. 20 points from Jeremiah Fears. He's having a great rookie season so far. Even better than I expected, and I was pretty high on him. I didn't think he'd look this NBA ready as a young 19-year-old guard. And then Derek Queen, quiet game today, but he's been terrific for him. He did have 8 points, 6 assists with his 4 points. Trey Murphy had 20. Jordan Poole, 16 off the bench. For the Bulls, they had 20 from Kobe White, 16 off the bench from Kevin Huerter. Booz Ellis had a forgettable game. Josh Giddey had a forgettable game as well. The Lakers, I heard there was a lot of controversy in this Lakers 116-114 win over the Suns with the refs, Eric.
Yeah, I saw all kinds of Twitter posts about that. I didn't, obviously we're at the Blazer game, so we didn't get a chance to watch it, but I saw that one of their reporters was their pool reporter for the game and had a chance to talk to the refs and was going to be the one filing the pool report. So be interested to see what that looks like in the 2-minute report or the whatever the last 5-minute. What is it? If
5-minute report.
Yeah.
Or the last 2-minute report. What happened?
I don't know.
Chat, somebody tell us. Yeah, somebody tell us what happened. Because I'm not sure, but the Lakers get a win. Maybe I'll just go rewatch Suns Valley podcast and hear Gaybridge about it. That sounds like a fun end to my weekend. Luka Doncic, 29 points, but on 7 for 25 shooting from the field. He was 13 for 14 from the free throw line. So, not the most efficient 29-point game. LeBron had 26. The Lakers ended up shooting 43 free throws in this game. DeAndre Ayton had 20 points on 10 for 11 from the field, 13 boards. He's playing for a contract, so he's invested in playing hard. The Suns, 27 points from Book. They had 20 points from Mark Williams in the controversial loss. I'm curious to see what the hell happened in this game because Twitter was on fire.
There was a Dylan Brooks ejection. There was a questionable Devin Booker foul on a LeBron James 3 and something concerning LeBron James interaction with referees.
Alrighty. Well, if you guys don't know what's up, okay, here we go. Brooks hit a clutch 3 and then got ejected, I believe, after he thought he got fouled. Then 3 seconds left, LeBron got fouled on the 3. Yeah, I'll have to rewatch the tape. Thank you, Michael, for the little breakdown there. But let's take a look. Let me see if this loads correctly. There we go. Let's take a look. Let's not start in the East. Let's start in the. Wait, that's not what I want to click on. Let's start in the West. All right, let's start in the West. Here are your Western Conference standings as of today. Portland in 11th place, tied with Dallas. We haven't really looked at the standings all year, and I kind of forget to pay attention to teams at the top of the West. But you got a OKC, obviously, is terrific, but they just lost to the Spurs, Knicks in the NBA Cup Finals. You got a logjam of teams 2 through 6. You got Denver, Houston, LA, San Antonio, all separated by a game, and then Minnesota is a game behind Houston. The win percentages makes the games behind there kind of weird, but so I'll sort those teams in any order. That's the second tier of the West, and then you got a third tier right now. Phoenix, Golden State, Memphis is getting close to those teams, and then Dallas, Portland, Utah right behind them. As I said earlier, I hope that Portland can put themselves in the conversation with Phoenix, with Golden State, with Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix has one of the hardest schedules left in the league. They've had an easier schedule so far. So hopefully the scheduling differences equal out over the rest of the year. Portland will have some games to try and beat Phoenix and make up that deficit. Those games are, of course, going to be very important. But I think that's my goal, man. Like, get a 7th or 8th seed, get in that play-in, and then win that play-in game so you don't have a series against OKC. That's like the goal that's probably going to be difficult to achieve, but like is possible for this team. Because if they got a 7th seed, man, it'd be fun going into a playoff series feeling like you might have a, small, but you might have a chance to make some noise. Whereas against OKC, it's like, all right, let's hope we don't get cakewalked in 4 games.
Also, I mean, if it's that 7-8 against Golden State.
Yeah, because we have their number.
Although Steph's going to score like 80 in that game.
Yeah. I mean, I want this team to find their way into a 7th seed, and then maybe you play Houston. Maybe you play a team with some injuries. We saw the 7th seed, which was Golden State last year, win in that series. Like, I think, obviously it'd be tough, and Portland would be a legitimate underdog there. But, it'd be good playoff experience in a series that maybe you could win a game or 2 and extend it. So that's the goal right now. Hopefully the Clippers can start winning some games because that OKC pick is scary high right now. I'm not looking forward to lottery day if it remains that high. So hopefully we can fix some things there and not have to worry about that. In the East, it's cool to see Detroit lead a standings graphic because in my days of making standings graphics for these post-game shows, they have never been anywhere really near the top. And look at them, 20-5, although it should be 19-6 if the Blazers didn't get screwed by the refs in their game against them. The Knicks, 2 seed, and then you got look at this, Eric. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams separated by half a game. Or no. 7 teams separated by 1 game, 6 teams separated by half a game because you got Boston, Orlando, Toronto, Miami, Philadelphia, Cleveland, and Atlanta all in this pack right here. So one of those teams is going to be a 9th seed or worse. All of those teams are pretty good. Which team do you think is the worst out of that collection of teams?
Well, Toronto is really hard to figure out because they play really well sometimes and bad other times. I don't think they're the worst of that group. Miami's offense is kind of like just flat out gone downhill since Hero came back. They just can't seem to like have guys with good performances at the same time. And then Philly, I don't trust Philly. Cleveland, there's like bad vibes there right now.
Yeah.
Atlanta feels like they're better than all those teams. I'm surprised they're not higher. But I want to say I really want to say Philly just because they're the most talented team probably in that group. But like they just something's been wrong with them the last few years, and I don't think Embiid's getting any healthier. And despite the performance tonight, I don't think you can count on Paul George anymore. So I want to say Philly, but I think it'll probably be either Miami or Toronto that ends up falling back to that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with those two teams. The East is just super interesting because Boston, I feel like being third is a bit high for them. Boston is not a tough 3rd seed in my opinion. Like you got 2 teams right now that are really good in the East, and then kind of a bunch of teams that are like solid but beatable. Orlando, I think, is going to be the 3rd best team from the East. They seem to have figured things out after a really slow start. But Milwaukee's not even in this group. They are tied in terms of games back with Chicago. They just lost to Brooklyn by 45 points. 45 points. Brooklyn didn't even have Cam Thomas. Brooklyn started a lineup of Yegor Demon, Terrence Mann, Michael Porter Jr., Noah Clowney, and Nick Claxton.
Also, Steve Hetzel was their coach filling in today because something happened to Jordy.
Hopefully he's all right. Hopefully Jordy's all right. But I mean, Milwaukee without Giannis might be like Indiana, Washington level bad. Their best player today, Gary Trent Jr. Their starting lineup: Ryan Rollins, Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent Jr., Kyle Kuzma, Miles Turner. Just disgusting. The reason why I'm having this conversation: do you think Giannis is going to get traded this season?
I don't know, man. I kind of hope they do trade him, but
there's no hope. There's no hope in Milwaukee, in my opinion.
Yeah.
With Giannis, they're like barely 500, if that, and without him, they are like arguably the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
So where are they going? They don't have any assets. I mean, they don't. You know, they cut Dame to have cap space to sign Miles Turner. I guess they have a future pick in 2032, but or do they even have that pick? I don't know. Because they traded for Kyle Kuzma. So they're just screwed. I'm getting super excited about this Milwaukee Bucks 2028 first-round pick. That the Blazers can swap for if they have their pick. That's why it'd also be nice to make the playoffs this year and just get that out of the way. The pick that we owe Chicago. I just don't know because Milwaukee doesn't have to trade him. He still has 3 years left. Giannis has kind of been a loyal guy. I don't know if this shakes out to them parting ways, but it just feels like doomed to, like, it feels destined to fail. It feels like at some point before 2028, Giannis is going to get traded. And Milwaukee's probably going to be bad. I think that Milwaukee pick is the picks 2028 through 2030 are such valuable assets. I've said this before. There's no way I'd trade any of those picks right now for like OG Anunoby in a 3-team trade if Giannis is going to the Knicks. Like I would not trade those picks outside of getting a legitimate all-star caliber, top 25 in the league caliber player. That's the only way I would even touch those Bucks picks because I think those picks are so freaking valuable. I think there's a chance that we're talking about hopefully a legitimate playoff team in 2028 in Portland, as well as doing tankathon after wins because we have the Bucks pick in the top 6 or 7 of the draft.
Yeah, I think OKC this year with the Clippers pick, right?
Yep.
Or Atlanta with the Pelicans pick is probably more accurate.
Yeah. Since you bring up OKC, I think the hope is like at some point they have to let like a Caruso and a Lou Dort go just for money purposes. And hopefully they don't hit on this Clippers pick with like a star. And then maybe that's when you start to see a little crack in their armor. You know, maybe you know, we've seen teams struggle with injuries and they haven't really yet. So I think some combination of all those things could be in a 2-3 years, maybe what brings them back down to earth a little bit, because obviously they've been phenomenal.
Well, if they listen to fans, there's some of them that think they have a J-Dub problem and that he's the one that needs to go.
How do you have a problem when you're 24-2?
I don't know, Tori.
Just search him for problems. I mean, I'm sure if we were 24-2, there are people in our chat that would be coming in saying that, but
it's also like, I get it if you were like a middle of the road team and you just like underperformed, like the Clippers, right? Like since they traded for Kawhi and Paul George and all that stuff, like never got over the hump, never did anything. Like I would get it if that fan base was like pointing fingers at one of them and being like, this guy's got to go if we ever want to win. But you literally won the championship with the dude as your number 2 last year. And now there's all these people like, oh, he can't be a number 2 on a championship team. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you just won a championship.
We got a comment in chat that says Chet or Dort are the weak links in the starting lineup. Chet is a weak link in the starting lineup? Sorry, my guy, but that is an awful take. That wins awful take of the night. That's insane.
Wemby did call him out and then took it right to him last night. But yeah, I don't think he's like an issue.
Per 36, Chet is averaging 23 points, 10 boards, 2 assists, 2 blocks. He's shooting 39% from 3, 57% from the field. True shooting percentage of 67%. J-Dub's barely played this year. He's literally the second best player on that team this season. That's 24-2. What do you mean he's a weak link? What do you mean he's a weak link? I feel like I'm being trolled. I must be being trolled. Like, there's no way you actually believe that. If Chet's not the second best player on that team this season, considering J-Dub's been hurt, then who's the second best player on that team? Yeah. Anyway. That's crazy. Chet's such an important part of that team defensively. 7-1 guy that can switch out onto guards, protect the rim, mobile. The thing is, he'd be playing more minutes. The stats would look even better if they weren't getting so many blowout wins. But he's basically like borderline 20-10 guy on elite efficiency.
All right, let's not entertain this guy.
Absolutely trolling. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway. I hope Giannis gets traded. I don't know if I'd rather him get traded next year or this year. I think the Blazers should be in the market for him if he does get traded. I just dream about a Giannis trade. I dream about what that stream would look like. But Kirk, of course he did, because that was a good take, and he hates those. Anyway. Really nothing left to say. I mean, when we got updates, we got this December 15th date in 5 minutes that players become tradable across the league. It doesn't mean anything's going to happen, but maybe it triggers some momentum there. Of course, we've got the trade deadline in less than 2 months, so I'm sure there will be a lot of rumors surrounding him because I don't think he's going to get better in Milwaukee. He's hurt right now. Like, I think, are going to struggle to make the play-in. I think it's between them and Chicago for that last spot. But also, Eric, like, Charlotte's only 2.5 games back, and they got some pieces, man.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't rule out Charlotte being able to play their way up to 10th in this scenario. So, anyway, looking forward to talking more trades, but those are the standings. The Blazers get an awesome win today. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thank you guys for waiting for the stream to kick off. The next game isn't until Thursday, so light period with the NBA Cup and stuff going on right now, but we're going to start rolling here on Thursday as they take on the Sacramento Kings. That will be I want to do a mock draft that night. Are you going to be ready to do a mock draft, Eric? 30-pick
Sure.
mock draft.
Sure.
That's the plan right now. So, and then Saturday after that, shot night is my plan right now. I have it listed as a watch party. I think we'll just do a shot night. We haven't done a shot night all season long. This time, I don't want to drink so much that I throw up 7 times at night and my eyes become bloodshot, if you remember that from last year. Do you remember that from last year, Eric? Do you remember how bad my eyes were?
How could I not remember that? That wasn't that long ago, Tori. I'm not that
That
old.
was a year ago. That's a
I know I'm
decently
old.
long time. That was a whole year ago. I forget plenty of things from the past year. So, I feel like you didn't drink that
Big stuff
much.
like that.
Well, I didn't eat, and also I drank like 10 shots on an empty stomach. That's a decent amount. That's not lightweight. Chet will be traded before the end of next year. All right, bro. All right, man. We're all going to forget that take, but hopefully you remind me 3 years from now that you were wrong. So yeah, we'll see about it. But Christmas right around the corner. Looking forward to the holidays. Looking forward to hopefully some more Blazer wins, man. This was a really fun game to be at. So I will say, I've had, while they're 10-16 and it hasn't necessarily been the prettiest start to the season, I've had more games that I've thoroughly enjoyed than like the past couple of years, and this was one of them.
Absolutely.
So at least there's some higher highs, more fun games, and Blazers, when they make 51% of their threes, that's always going to be fun. So they survived the Steph onslaught. Shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the stream. Make sure you use promo code Uprise. You'll get a 100% deposit match up to $100 on Sleeper. You'll also get a free $20 entry that you can legitimately win real money off of not even putting any of your own money into Sleeper. So you can do a parlay. I know you guys know ball. I know you guys know the NBA. You can literally take that free $20 entry and test it with Sleeper and maybe win $100, $200. Depends on the parlay you put together. But if you ever win on Sleeper, also feel free to tweet me the screenshot or send it on Discord. I got a cat going on.
Chat. Oh, yeah.
Too.
Cat going crazy.
Yeah, cat's pretty talkative. But the cat is saying use promo code Uprise on Sleeper. Shout out to them for sponsoring the stream. That's what the cat was saying. Anything else, Eric?
Yeah, I just want to say I got to the game early tonight to get that, make sure I got a glass. Went down to basically the floor to watch. Just happened to go in and Steph was warming up. Man, what an experience that was, watching him, and his Seth was there too. But just watching him, literally was watching him for like 30 minutes, miss like one shot the entire time until he started like goofing off and shooting left-handed and stuff from three. But like, yeah, it was crazy. And then he went and signed autographs at the end. Both Denny and Rupert signed autographs for a little bit down there. It was pretty cool, man.
What time did you get there?
I was there at 4. The gates opened at 4:45, but my mom couldn't get in the season ticket holder entrance, so we were like 15th in line or something.
Oh, that's cool.
To get in. So yeah, we got him pretty early and then just went right down to the floor for a minute. And yeah, just watching him shoot just that close was crazy, man.
So you were just like sitting there first row, basically?
We didn't go that far, but yeah, we're right there. Yep.
That's cool.
Pretty cool, yeah.
Cool. I need to do that someday.
Yeah.
One day I will.
It's like when I go to baseball games, I like to watch batting practice and stuff. Like,
yeah.
It's pretty cool. But anyways, I hope everyone has a good night. I'm glad the Blazers won. I was thinking about this during the game when it almost got away from us. I was like, man, this sucks. Like, people are going to be like, oh, you guys want this. You guys want negative stuff. Like, no, we don't. Like, we want the team to be good. We want, like, as these streams, like, when we lost to the Pelicans, like, those streams are not as fun as when, like, we're doing well and we beat a team like we did tonight. So I was really happy they got the win. So thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great few days until Thursday.
Yep, we'll be back on Thursday. Shout out to that ringtone. And then
Carson, you're in chat. You don't need to text me a bunch.
Yeah. Damn, Carson.
No, I texted you too.
I don't know. I have my phone on silent like all the time. But I will start doing picks against the spread streams next week because I'll have 2 weeks off, so I'll be able to do those. And then we've also like been developing a way that you guys can participate individually in our Discord, a bot for that. So gonna put together like I think like monthly seasons that you guys can participate in. So just kind of reworking that because it's basically been impossible for me to do these streams with my day job and everything. So we'll do some extra ones over those 2 weeks too that I'm off. So like next week and the week after. So anyway,
nice.
We're out of here. Shout out Sleeper. Use promo code Uprise. Blazers get a big win. Shout out to Shaden Sharp. Shout out to Jeremy Grant. Shout out to Denny, Avdija. All had tremendous games. Need to see more of this from Sharp, man. I could get used to this, So let me get used to this. Give me more. Want more. Blazers got 2 games coming up against the Kings. Winnable games. would be very important to. Well, let's win back-to-back games, Eric. It hasn't happened since like October, so we'll see if they can do so on Thursday. We'll have you covered with that post-game show. We're either going to be really freaking annoyed about a loss or just happy that we won freaking back-to-back games. So make sure you tune in. Don't miss it. We're out of here. Have a good rest of your Sunday nights and a good week ahead. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers!